this should start coming up soon, right? Am I right? And that's going.
Hey, YouTube world.
And Facebook
and
world.
now Facebook world. Hi, welcome to Political Head Trauma.
Yes. Okay, so we're up and running. A little bit of slowdown for startup. That's okay. So we have a guest coming on tonight. Just some more of a meet the candidate stuff. We got Anita. Now, okay. Forgive me if I get this last name wrong, but it's Dalrymple is how I'm reading it, but it may be incorrect. I'm not sure, but she should be coming on here in what
in the corner there. We are, neither one of us are Christina, and I hate to do
I can fix that. Yeah. All right.
People log on thinking we're Christina. They might be really disappointed.
That's okay.
Hey guys, we are excited to talk to this candidate running for House of Representatives, District 28.
Yeah, she's an offering from the Democrat Party. So I know we don't get a lot of Democrats on here.
No, we welcome when they come. So
I need
that's
to tell
great.
Holly to be nice.
Tell me. I love Democrats.
What's up, William? Good to see you. Yes, we are. Oh, okay. Sorry, guys. Okay.
Thanks, Christina.
Yes, thanks, Christine. Christina was just on the shared the thing. It's a thing. It's a whole thing, and hopefully one day we can interview Christina and find out what's going on there.
Also, we'd like to thank KMMU because
yes.
Christina is another one of their amazing folks that is coming a part of the team, I'm assuming, right? And she's a wealth of information, so tune into her show if you ever get to see her. Yeah, anyways, she is a great hacker.
So earlier I was on by myself with Brooks Benson. He's running for Senate 11. Had a good message. Go jump on YouTube and Facebook and everywhere else. Little bit of like housekeeping. I'm no longer going to build like a whole thing for just their name and all that. In the title, we're just going to kind of do a meet a candidate thing. Just because I've done that a few times and we've had a few people not show up. So now I've got to go back and undo that or just leave it up and it's incorrect. And so we're just going to do kind of a meet a candidate and then I'll announce our name and then everything we do will be available for them to come and
our whole goal, folks,
pilfer.
Our whole goal is to get to know those folks that want to run for your vote and their reason for running, about the plans that they have when they run, and just about their ideas on issues and certain things. So please type in the comments. We want to read your comments to our guests. We want to be respectful, and we just want to learn. That's what we're here to do, right? Ask questions.
I'm here to drink a beer and learn because I'm not on call. So,
well, yeah, you finally got a day off. So I'm going to drink water because that's the lifeblood of humanity. But welcome, guys. I'm so happy to see all of you. I have to apologize. I would have loved to be a part of Brooks' interview. Brooks is a great guy and he's a lot of fun. And I've gotten to work with him through the SEC and he's good people. Did you enjoy the interview?
Yeah. Yeah. It was a good chat.
Excellent. Well,
good chat, knowledgeable guy.
Was it a 30-minute or how long?
It went about 40 minutes.
Oh, good. Then you had a good interview. Excellent. If you're running, reach out to Jared or I. You can comment on the video. You can private message the page. Reach out to us. We would love to get you on and invite you to share your message on here.
Yeah. So, what was I going to say? Yeah, he came on it real knowledgeable. His time frame and the normal show's time frame wouldn't work out because of his work schedule. So we did a quick one at 3:00. Quite a knowledgeable guy. Go listen to the show. You can hear about what he wants to talk about. We talked about roads and energy and water. That's pretty much what everyone's going to talk about all the time.
It's true.
That's the future we have. Okay, so Anita's on, and I'm going to ask her how to pronounce her last name.
Excellent.
It's Dalrymple. 3 round things. Dalrymple.
I said
Nice.
it correct then, right?
Yeah, I think
Dalrymple.
so.
Hey, look at me. Oh, Anita, good to meet you. How are you tonight?
I'm good. Thank you very much for inviting me on. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. My name is Holly, and you obviously have spoken with Jared, but please tell us about yourself and a little bit about your campaign, if you like.
Okay, sure. Thank you. So I was born and grew up in Utah. I graduated from Cypress High School, so very local to the area. Um, I I went to a number of universities within the state of Utah. Graduated with a degree in statistics after kind of bouncing around between industrial design, mechanical engineering, and then
Whoa.
landed on statistics, which that's a whole story. And then after the focus of my career has been in quality and regulatory and medical device development. And so I pursued a master's degree in reliability engineering to kind of wrap that into a nice little package. And so that's kind of my background. I live on a small ranch in Tooele County, and I've been here for over 20 years. I love it. I'm very happy here. And let's see, my campaign. That's a whole nother story. I don't know how long you want me to take about that, but
that's what we're mostly here for, is for
Right.
you to
Let's hear it.
let the voters know who you are. So when they read your name, they know who they're voting for.
well, thanks. Okay, sure. So I grew up, because I grew up in the area, I did grow up a Republican. Just that was my family and my neighborhood, etc. And I never really questioned that much. And then my real interest in politics started during COVID. So up until that time, just kind of coasted along with what I had learned as in childhood and growing up. But anyway, then during COVID, President Trump had these daily briefings, which I imagine you remember, where he told us like the latest, everything that was happening. How many people had been affected, what different precautions were being recommended, so on and so forth. Well, my background, like I just mentioned, I did bounce around on my major. I ended up taking a lot of science classes, and what he was saying did not jive with what I learned in school. A lot of it was just really off base, and so that really it prompted me to want to know more about who our president was and what they were doing. And so that kind of launched my interest into politics. And from there, I really got very frustrated with what was going on with that presidency. And to be quite honest, I wasn't really happy about the next one either. And so, but I thought, well, okay, at least things have sort of settled down. And then Trump was elected again. And I don't mean to make this all about Trump. It just kind of ties into how I, became active. But when he was elected again, and some of the things that started developing during that, and especially like immigration and things like that, I thought, you know what is my civic duty? I have always voted in every election I could because I was taught that was my civic duty. I grew up, saying the Pledge of Allegiance, um, always saluting the flag, all of that stuff. And so I voted in every election I ever could. And I thought, you know what? I'm not doing enough. I'm concerned about what's happening, and it's my responsibility to become active. So I didn't really have a plan. I didn't have a direction. I just started watching every kind of news I could get my hands on. And it was actually someone who, I don't know if he still lives in Utah, but he did, Steve Schmidt, if you know who he is. He has a podcast and he does a lot of videos and stuff. And I joined his Substack. And I directly asked him, what can I do to make my voice heard so that my government knows what's important to me, what I think matters, and what I think we should do? And he said, run for office. So that launched it. And I really couldn't run as a Republican because I can't support a lot of what's happening. And so I thought about going independent, but decided that that kind of took my chances to ever being elected to zero. So I talked to the Democratic Party, and they were aligned with the things I was concerned about. And so that is how I became a candidate for House District 28 as a Democrat.
And
Wow.
lay out what motivations you want to fight against, and particularly as a Utah House representative, how you could carry that fight.
Okay, sure. So I did a lot of root cause analysis into the problems that I saw as significant. And let me just explain that in a moment. So what my job is, my career is around right now, is quality and regulatory for medical device development. And one of the activities that I perform very, very often is root cause analysis, meaning I look at a lot of evidence and then I try to trace the tracks back to what is causing the problem, what's really causing the problem, what's not a symptom, but an actual cause. And so that's the things I want to emphasize as I am running for office. And I'll tell you, the first one is corruption. And I will be extremely transparent and open. Corruption is occurring in both parties. It's not just one party. I feel like it's a real problem, because if we can't get that under control, we're going to lose our democracy. And that's my biggest motivation for running, is that, oh, go ahead.
No, I love that. I'm wondering, are you thinking on a state level or a national level? Where do you see the corruption, or even a local level? Where do you see the corruption that's gotten you, like, that's your like number one priority? Because I think all Americans are feeling that right now. I mean, that's for sure.
Well, I think that kicked off under George Washington, but go on.
No, I think you're right that it's pretty universal. Like I said, I've lived in Tooele County for a long time now, and I saw that in the county long before I was ever interested in politics. And in fact, I used to be very active in going to like the the planning commission meetings, because I felt like they were trying to overdevelop the county, which I still think that. And the reason I think that is because of water, not because I don't like people. It's just we don't have the water resources for the amount of population that I think the county wants to push on us and is willing to allow. That's kind of a separate issue, but that's sort of where I first saw that kind of corruption, because frankly, I felt like a lot of times the commission made decisions that weren't based on any logical, scientific, or other reasonable explanation. And, there's always rumors of somebody did this behind the scenes, blah, 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 right? Well, I never pursued that. So it was just sort of a.
Do you
go
feel
ahead.
like it was corruption that caused that, or do you think it's other motivations?
Well, I think that based on rumors, okay, so I'm not saying corruption occurred. I'm just saying that I heard rumors of it. And that was my first awareness that that was even a possibility, because I grew up fairly naive, thinking everything they taught us in school was really the way the world was. And, kind of that slap in the face that it's not always true. You know what I mean? So I would say I can't point a finger and say, oh my gosh, these guys were corrupt. I can just say that there were rumors that made me start thinking about corruption as a possible motivation in government. And that really upset me. But at the time, it wasn't anything I was, motivated enough to do anything about it. But
I don't look. I am an anarchist at heart. I don't vote. I voted this last election because Kamala Harris's verbiage scared the crap out of me. Her and that retard, that Tim Walz, when they want to restrict speech, that's a bridge too far. The minute you say that, I'm done. I'm out. I can't. And otherwise, I don't vote, and I haven't voted. The time before that I voted was Bill Clinton when I was in the Army. That was a little while ago.
I also voted for Bill Clinton.
But
I did too.
I look at, I voted, he was my old man when I was in the Army. He's the commander in chief. I was like, that's, but at heart, I have a hard time with our bedroom community and taxes increasing, where all of our revenue taxes tend to hit on the other side of the mountain. So all we have is a bedroom tax out here. I'm wondering, I lean more that the pressures that our municipalities feel is from that, is that they've got to go in front of their populace every year and raise taxes because they don't get any inherent taxes from sales and everything else when everything goes to the other side of the mountain. You see what I'm saying?
We have to make it here in our
So
county.
I think they tried growing the county just like right now, England has this faulty idea that if they raise GDP by bringing in a whole bunch of migrants, because it will raise the GDP. I mean, it lowers the individual GDP for everyone, except
it raises the crime rate
politicians, but it raises the overall GDP, and it's a Band-Aid. And I think that's a lot of what we see, because that's just a natural pressure that they would feel in that position. It's just my thoughts.
And mine, with our county council and former commissioner, that when you said rumors, and I too am running for a seat for the House District 29. So I get ready to be the product of rumors. I've had the ability to sit in on council meetings or commission meetings with developers there, and I'm watching. I used to be an avid attendant and videotape them, so people record so people could see them, because I was baffled at how little people were showing up to these very important meetings. And what I noticed is that when people don't engage, our electeds don't know what the people want. So they're allowed to make decisions. I also watched developers fighting for years on property they already own just to get a right to develop on it, and also to compromise on a lot of their planned development for green space or schools or whatever it is. Not to say they are holier than thou by any means, but I've watched it play out in real time, and I'm baffled at what I see on the socials, accusations made about our political representatives, that they're getting cash in their pockets from these developers. That is not true. I mean, I know these people personally. They're not wealthy by any means, and they benefit in no way other than smart growth or the ability to keep the taxes lower by having more people. But at the same time, they're carrying that weight, and so will you if elected. Carrying that burden of the need for schools, the need for lower taxes, the overreach that's going into each and every one of our pockets and the homeowners' pockets. Education is terrible out here, as you may know.
I do know.
They're blaming the legislatures. Our school board blames you, and you blame the state or the federal government. And meanwhile, our local electeds are getting all the blame if that tax goes up even a percentage.
I think you bring up something.
Gets the most.
Oh, sorry about that. Go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. We tend to just jump in. Please forgive us.
No problem. I think you brought up a lot of really good and important issues. Really, that kind of takes me to my second point of what my campaign's about, and that's transparency and accountability. So I think to your point, people getting blamed for things, if we had some better transparency to the public about what's happening, either we get rid of bad rumors or at least reduce them, or we understand why things are happening, or we have better insight into how to contribute our perspective, etc. So I think that's the other important thing. And I'll just add, just because it's related, I have three main points, and the third one is finding better ways to use technology for better governance. Making it easier for people to find information, have information, actively participate online, real-time feedback both ways. I think there's a lot of possibility for that, especially when we're, in this we're in a boom of technology with AI and all sorts of new developments in online technology. And And specifically, I think one thing that we lack right now is user-oriented interfaces. So we might have a lot of information online, but it's so hard to find, I think, a lot of times. And so that's my other big point. I think with those three things, we at least have a better system going, and then we can go from there.
Can you paint a picture of a user-oriented interface for me?
Sure. I'm sure you've experienced this. Depending on how old you are, and I'm not going to make an assumption, but I personally used to boot up with 2 floppy disks. I mean, not in
I
so
think we're around the same age, dear.
yeah, okay. So so now, you just push a button, it boots up for you. So we've gone through multiple iterations of how you turn on your computer and actually get to interact. Another big difference was we don't have to type command lines anymore. We have Windows, just click and it goes through, right? Okay, well, things can be easier even than that. So when we go, so for instance, if you go to the Lieutenant Governor's website and you want to find out about your representative, you have to go through a bunch of menus to figure it out and get there and be able to pull up their voting record. What I'm suggesting is there's got to be easier ways where you could just maybe the menus are easier. Maybe there's an easier search option, things like that. And I'll tell you where my background is on this is that so years ago I worked for I hope it's okay if I just say their name because I don't want to have to try to dance around it, but I worked for Boert Longyear, and they are a manufacturer of drilling bits for huge drilling equipment. What do you say? It's I can't think of the word, sorry, but anyway.
That sounds so boring.
No, my brother's a driller, and it's funny because that is it's a very big company, and they do bits for everything, I believe. Those big diamond bits,
Yes,
they're
exactly.
pretty exceptional. They can drill through rock and land, and they can drill for water, oil. They can drill through anything.
Right. So what they hired me to do was to come in and help unify their worldwide engineering group. So what would happen is one group would change some specification on a part, but the other groups would never get that message. So then a buyer would order it and maybe not get quite what they expected, depending on which group they had been working with. So they wanted me to help design a system where the engineers are all making changes in sync. Then after doing that, I had to help work with a programmer to design training and then an interface to the actual engineering software that would allow all the engineers to easily understand what to do. So we designed this sort of as a flow chart kind of a interface so that, okay, first you have to input this information, it would kind of flow you to the next thing. Well, that's not a given. We kind of think of that as a given now, I think, in a lot of our software because it's been developed over time to be sort of uniform, but it wasn't then. And so what I did was I'll bore you with a little geeky information. It's called CPOC, where you flow chart your supplier inputs, outputs, customer. You go through this process, and we had to test at every step. Did the engineers that spoke other languages understand this flow? Did they make mistakes? If they did, it was our fault because we didn't design that interface to be easy enough. So anyway, I think that kind of programming perspective would make a big difference in interfacing with government. With right now, we're expected to search through a lot of pages and even think about if you have a question on a tax form that you need to file it, but you can't figure out what you're supposed to put in box A. That's the kind of thing I'm talking about this.
Do you see what you just described sounds like what AI is doing now? And AI is developing systems based on the owner of said AI or whoever's using it tells it the commands it needs it to do. And then the AI develops a system that can merge and all of that. And I'm with you because one thing COVID taught us is that we can do a lot of stuff virtually. And 2026, it feels like, we've said this a lot. Our electeds should be camered up. I'd be fine if they were all wearing body cams, and I'd also be fine if they were able to vote from anywhere in the world.
Yes.
instead of having to be there. And I'm talking a lot of federal. I mean, I'm up at the Capitol. I see our electeds up there, and I can talk to them, especially ours. Nicolene Peck, Bridger Bullender, they're very accessible. Nicolene does a number of town halls each year, reaching out to the public. And what I also find with her is that as much as she's reaching out, people are so busy they don't show up.
Mm-hmm.
And then the information is there. Him and I learn this every single time we do this show. We're trying to get the information out there.
Well,
And yet a lot of people can't be bothered, but they can watch a video.
Well, and exactly what you're saying. What if you could do this? What if you could type in your search bar and say, I'm interested in the voting going on in Utah State Capitol today. And
Right.
and it pops up, and you could choose the representative you want to follow. Like you said, body cam, or even if we just saw a display of what they were, how they were voting or something. What if you could type immediately and say, I would vote no on this bill, and that it could aggregate everybody that logged in and said that, and tell the representative first, like immediately, real life time, oh my gosh, I'm getting a really big spike on the nose. Maybe I should think about.
I agree
I,
with you.
and that's the interaction that I'm talking about. Why can't we do that? It is 2026. My goodness,
I want to know as a voter why I can't go online and look up each individual judge's record.
Yes.
Try finding information, folks, on the judges on your ballot. I've gotten to the point where I
agree.
vote no.
Why don't I do too, for the exact same reason.
Anything about them unless they're in the headlines for doing something stupid.
Yeah.
Or really setting someone off. It's hard for you to investigate judges. Now, I have a less hard time like my representatives. And there is an app out there. We had the app creator on the show that designed an app that does just what you're saying. It tracks your legislature, your either federal or state.
You have to pay for it. That's where I was going to go with this is how long was it before we got an internet interface of our state government after Amazon was shipping books to you overnight? Because these modernizations, when there's a profit margin on the other side of it, happen quick.
Oh, you're right.
But when there's not a profit margin, just a cost, like right now, if you put it on the ballot, I want to have an interactive interface with our legislature, everyone would vote yes. But then if you put on the ballot and it would cost X amount to make,
5 million,
everyone would vote no.
Let me speak to that, because you know what I think we do wrong. Obviously we have lots of issues, but one thing I think we do is we invest a lot of money in huge, extravagant buildings. What if we reduced that footprint, because we can work remotely or from anywhere in the world?
Is she listening to our show?
Yeah, it's almost like I want to start at that freaking school next door to me that's closed half the year.
Especially schools that are swallowing up. So 75% of our tax dollars are going to schools with crappy graduation rates and terrible teacher morale, and they're getting built just enough for the people, and yet
they're only open half of the year.
Yeah, half the year they're not utilized.
Well, and you want to know even in addition to that, they build so much stuff that's specialized. Like how many people, okay, don't crucify me, but how many people actually get a benefit from the football program? And I'm not saying that's bad. I'm just saying how many people get a benefit from this huge theater with these tremendously expensive curtains, drapery.
I'm telling you, he says this almost. Have you ever watched our show before? Because this is really amazing.
I actually only watched or listened to, I didn't watch it, but I listened to one episode, and I apologize, I can't remember who was on it, but it was just, none of this. It was just little.
I'm generally rough on Democrats because I don't believe in Satan necessarily, but he would be a Democrat because he wants to steal your money and hand you crap.
I'm not gonna take offense at that.
But I'm only slightly more favorable to Republicans right now. I'm also one of those I'm 50 years old. I have a significant memory, and I like history. So I understand the ebbs and flows. Right now, the Democrats went kooky, so they're they went too progressive. They went too hard into the paint. So they have been receding at the time. So the Republicans are on the rise, or the conservatives. But I also remember when the conservatives went kooky back in, 1995 through 2005, which caused them to do their recession. So I recognize these things. Back then, 2000, Republicans were all kooks in my mind. Now the Democrats have gone hard. But I'm with you. I think we're in the midst of a new industrial revolution.
Absolutely.
And we need to lean in, and more things need to be formulated to go virtual. And I think including our government operations.
I agree with some of what you're saying. I don't agree with all of it, but what I will say is I think the American people as a whole probably have more in common than they don't.
That's true.
And we let things get to the extreme at the top of the political, discussions. So I think, I really think that we could come to an agreement on a lot of this stuff that needs to happen.
I think most of our politics are agreement. I mean, remember, Bush and Gore argued about whether it was a 36 or a 38% tax rate. That was the window. The window of argument. I believe that's Noam Chomsky brought that up.
I think when he means an industrial revolution, it's going to be data, and it's going to be, data already is the most valuable asset in America and all over. But you're going to have AI and the use of technology. And I think you're absolutely right. If we can sit down, and I'm a Republican, I was recently the Republican chair of Tooele County.
Oh, well, congratulations for having done that.
I love talking to Democrats because, if anything, especially Utah Democrats, if anything, they understand also there's a value and a moral issue that is happening in the world, and that we do not have a republic without a moral people willing to follow the Constitution and things like that. When we're getting into technology, we're in uncharted ground here. As far as constitutional, is it not? What's acceptable? What's privacy anymore?
Right.
What's searchable? What isn't? What's how come we can send Martha Stewart to prison for insider trading, but we can't investigate our own Congress, our own Senate, who have become millionaires in less than a few years on both sides of the aisle, I'm sure. But
I agree.
I would love to, why I say body cams, and this is so true, because I could see a reality TV show on C-SPAN that just picks a senator and follows them through a certain week, and they're body cammed up. So you get to see their meetings when they're with their team. You get to see meetings when they're with the lobbyists that are wining and dining them. You get to see their meetings when the president or the president's representative is in there telling them the White House version. And the thing is how many Americans would watch it? I would be the huge nerd watching it every time.
Yeah.
But you and I both know that we have a problem with Americans getting engaged in politics. They've gone super tribal, for one. And for two, most of them are throwing their hands up and said, I'm done with this.
So
both of you are disappointing me.
That kind of goes to your AI comment, right? So if you had that streaming like you're talking about, and you could jump in occasionally and say, summarize the meetings with, this politician and their lobby for X, whatever it is, pharma, I want to know what the conversation was and get your few paragraphs from AI. There you go. There's your connection to some technology that could help people engage.
Absolutely.
And I think the body cam idea is great because people love reality TV, right? Yes. Dating and everything else. And I think if we could watch any of them, okay, just choose one, Governor Cox. If we could watch him go and have, meet people and talk or whatever, people would be riveted to that, I think.
I
So
agree.
I
And
think
a
that's a
day in
great
the
idea.
life, and it's produced. The problem is you don't believe anything you see anymore because of AI.
Mm, that's
And
that's
whoever's
true.
doing the production can spin an agenda with something as simple as music inserted into a moment.
Mhm.
It can manipulate the human psyche. And I would love it if it was raw body cam, but also production would get more
Imagine the
people tuned
first
in.
time they forgot to mute it and went to the bathroom.
But that's what people want, right? They want the truth of what's really happening. I want to just jump to one side comment, if you don't mind, because it sort of relates to what we're talking about. But Robin Williams years ago made a joke about it's too bad politicians don't wear jackets with their sponsors the same way NASA does. I'm sorry, NASCAR.
So, yeah.
Yeah. And
So
I
true.
actually thought about doing that because I have a pink jacket similar to this, but pink. And I thought, why not write with Sharpies? Who's paying for my campaign? I think that would be great if every politician had to be that transparent. But maybe with AI, we can get more of that.
I think that when the Republican did that, what is it, people's vote thing? What was that called?
I don't know.
Where it allowed corporations to donate money as if they're
People.
I think that
Citizens
was
United.
Citizens United. Thank you. That
Mhm.
was a huge disservice, and it bit the Republicans in the butt over the last 20 years. Since the Republicans did it, the Republicans have lost, but now they're coming back because the Democrats, when you're in ascension, you get kooky. You do crazy stuff to protect yourself and enrich yourself. And when you're in the low ground, you do crazy novel ideas like cutting taxes and releasing regulations and allowing growth, right? I mean, just look at California. I mean, I've said this many times on this show. Do you know who Carroll Shelby is?
I don't.
The man who made the Shelby car.
The Shelby Mustang. The guy,
Okay.
that show, he's played by Matt Damon.
Okay.
Race car show, whatever. Anyways, he moved from Texas in the 60s to California because California was libertine and he could build race cars there. No car company is staying in California anymore because California went crazy. And they start when you're at the top, you start regulating more and you start gathering more power to yourself. And I think the Democrats over the next 10 years are going to learn that lesson and they're going to become sensible. And we're going to have a magic window where both parties are as sensible as they're going to be, right? Picture 1994, right? Everybody drift back. Oh, it's a beautiful time, right? Government wasn't kooky. That's that window, right? Right now, we're in this crazy time. It's going to come back down. The Republicans are in ascension, and then they'll start getting a little crazy, and the Democrats will hit the bottom, and then they'll meet in the middle.
It's a pendulum.
And we'll start having like fun times again for about 3 years.
Can I just add on that corporations thing? What we saw with Kamala Harris's campaign, when you're getting over $1 billion, look at the expense of these campaigns over since that was passed. You could, back when you had to get it from regular kids or regular folks to raise your money for campaigns, and there were strict limits. Now with PACs and with corporations and all of that, now we get campaigns in the $1 billion range, and it's unbelievable.
Well, what I was going to say is during that time, like Kamala, all of her campaign contributions that came from corporate were all from old long tooth companies. And Trump's campaign came from these new modern companies that aren't protecting themselves. They're trying to, break through different ceilings and barriers. But the old long tooths, they want Kamala because they've already met those regulation compliance. So if they get someone that keeps enforcing those, that helps them knock down any up and coming competition. Where the new guys, they want to lessen regulation so they can go crazy. And granted, I think we need a little middle ground, but I'm just pointing out just the different kind of stats.
So this is where I think we might diverge somewhat in our opinions of what's happening. So we do agree, Citizens United opened the door for some really terrible things. And to me, this comes in the corruption area of what I've been talking about. S- but you're right. What it did is it pushed the amounts campaigns cost to the point that the average American cannot actually afford to campaign. And I'll just tell you my exact story. I wanted to, to get involved. Ended up running for Utah House seat. You know that. So far, I haven't figured out how to raise the money. So just to get started, I've already spent a couple $1,000s of my own money, and that's not even really any kind of campaigning. That's just sort of setting up shop.
Amen.
Um, yeah,
And where
it
do you get the money from? You got to reach out to people. Who's hosting your big fundraisers? And
nobody right now.
right, and the party should be helping, but they have to stay neutral if they've got more than one person in the race, at least if they're doing the right thing. But I'm in the same boat. I don't have tens of thousands of dollars to even pay a campaign person.
Yeah, me
And
either.
yet people aren't lining up to throw money at me either.
No. So what that does though is it takes the playing field completely, it makes it completely unlevel so that only people with access to money somehow can run. And that's not what governing, by the people for the people is about. It's supposed to be every American has an opportunity to participate in their government. Well, we're obliterating that with Citizens United. I think that's one of the first things that has to go. We have to get rid of that.
I
The
would
other
argue it was obliterated the minute George Washington became president, but Citizens United didn't help. I mean, literally, if you look at the history, we've only had one truly good president in all of them, and that was William Henry Harrison.
Okay.
I was
Best
going to say,
president
you
we
really
ever had.
think one?
Yeah, William Henry Harrison.
Yeah, the guy that died after.
He was in a coma for 34 days and then died. That was his whole
Oh,
presidency.
He
okay,
caught the
gotcha.
flu or pneumonia at his inaugural ball or
Best
inauguration.
president ever. I need to get a big picture of him.
I was going to say, that fundraising is difficult, but I have to go back to the reason why SB 54 was so toxic on our elections, because SB 54, where it made it so you just got signatures and can be on the primary, bypassing delegates. Right now, you have the ability as the Democrat candidate to go to your Democratic caucus and reach out to people to go to caucus and ask them, run as a state delegate for me. And you vote for me at our convention. And that puts you on the primary ballot, saving you a lot of money having to fight. Now you'll have to fight after the primary, but once you get the Democrats' endorsement from your party, that goes a long way. And hopefully, but nowadays, SB 54 has made it so people go out and get signatures. Many don't get them themselves. They pay for them. And they're automatically guaranteed a place on that primary. And so for those people who don't have the money and are really got their nose to the grind and are really trying, it just makes it a really unlevel playing field for them. But I mean, that's the sandbox we're playing in right now. That's the laws that are out there. I am running convention only. So I'm not gathering signatures. I don't know if you are, but
No, I'm
with
not.
the Democrat Party, I don't know how many candidates are are you the only one?
I am the only one. I'm not even sure other Democrats have ever run for this seat. Frankly, I've been voting here for years and don't recall
There's only
having
6
a
of you in the county.
That's not true. But there's a lot
7.
of Democrats in the county. There's, I think, more registered Democrats at least 4 years ago than there were registered Republicans. Our county is actually independent by number.
Wow.
And I know this because that's the threshold they require when you get your signatures is based on how many registered Democrats are in the area. That's how many signatures you need to
It'd
get.
be funny. They hand her the packet. You need to get a signature.
Your party chair, your Democrat party chair, they've reached out to you and they're having meetings with you.
Yes, that's Carrie. I can't think of her last name, but yeah, she has.
Hopefully they are being very helpful. And I know that if I'm the chair and you're a candidate running in the race, I would be neutral with my other candidates, of course. But I would be reaching out to Democrats and trying to get you in front of as many as possible before your convention. And that way, when you get to convention, you get to really make your voice be heard and hopefully get some eyes on you. And they should be helping you with your campaign. They may not be able to pay you and donate like that, but you and I both know time is the most valuable resource. And someone else donating their time is very helpful in your campaign.
Yeah, I appreciate
Making
the
calls. I really feel for you because I'm self-funding too. And I know my competitors are probably got money coming in from, different groups. I can't fault them for that. That's the system we're in. And it's a scary thing. It's a scary thing to have to ask for money. And it's a scary thing to take people's money who are hardworking taxpayers and ask them to give it to you so you can buy a sign or two. But you want to vote, you want to be there and represent those people who need a voice at the state.
Yeah, and that's a good point. Representing people, I think it is important to listen to constituents. But another issue I've found is it's not only important to listen to people, it's also important to understand the underlying issues so that when they say, I want this, but they say, but I want you to vote this way, that you're not inadvertently undoing what they're asking to do. I think that's a little complexity that we don't really talk about very often.
That's the thing that I learned also in my engagement with politics is that candidates can promise all day long, especially new candidates. They can be a new dose of reality. Here's what we need: accountability, transparency. We need this. We need to promote this and this. Then they get elected. Then they get the rest of the story. They get behind closed doors and they realize what the budget is and what you have to remove in order to improve and what you have to change. These things are difficult things. And then you've got the weight of that on you and you realize I cannot keep my promises. And yet I want to be transparent, but there's some things you can't share with the public per se regarding boring, line by line. What you hope is they'll show up to your budget meeting and understand when you're discussing budget that this is why we're voting. But how many actually do that? They don't. And then you get somebody on Facebook who talks about how you're overspending on this, this, and this. And yet, no, I'm maintaining what was already chosen. I just wanted to add this program that I promised in my election. And we had to cut a couple of programs down a bit. We're trying to save them. That's politics. That's why I say I hope that you're prepared to be part of that rumor mill, because you will never satisfy everyone, of course, but it's hard to inform people who don't want to be informed.
I have found that out. I thought, if I stayed on Facebook and had conversations with people about my position on things, not to promote my campaign, but to actually just try to make, educate or at least provide some perspective that maybe people haven't thought about, stuff like that. And I get the most horrific pushback.
I'm
Like,
sure.
people don't even engage in the conversation. They just start calling me names. And so it's been a real eye opener.
I'm very used to that myself.
Facebook's a good time, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
The worst of humanity is on the socials. And I can't believe, there are people who have said things to me on type in Facebook, and I see them in public and they would say nothing. They would never say that to my face. And I've even approached them and I'm like, I thought you would approach me and tell me what a rancid, beast I am, because that's pretty much what you said about me on Facebook. And they're embarrassed, as they should be. But that is where we are right now. These people are unhinged and they're tribal and they don't want to hear from a Democrat when they're in this camp. And Democrats don't want to listen to me because I'm a Republican and I get the same thing. And yet, if we all just sat down and had a conversation, look at the things we can come to terms with at the same evening. And you're a delightful person, huge nerd, which I adore about you. And the thing is we can find common ground. Absolutely. Because we love this country. We love our county. We love our state.
That's absolutely accurate, and that's why what pushed me into this is I love my country. I literally thought about should I just move to Canada or something to not have to deal with the current, political just
Is it
firestorm.
is it that bad though?
It is to me.
Canada is collapsing. One, Canada eliminated free speech. That's a bridge too far for me. I
Are
already
you
told you
sure?
that. Yes, they did. They wrote it into law.
They're eliminating gun ownership too.
Gun ownership's been eliminated, but they eliminated free speech. You cannot speak your mind in Canada. You can go to jail, right?
Well,
so that's a bridge too far. And then their housing market. Where our housing market is rough, theirs is apocalyptic. Because I don't need to go into calling people names, but the suicidal empathy is suicidal. 100%.
They're assisted
You can't
suicide.
import 2% population and not build more housing and expect the system to function. You cannot.
They have assisted suicide there too.
Yes, that is, well, not just assisted. They're coaxing teenagers into it.
They're allowing teenagers.
No, they're coaxing them into it.
Is it 12? Are they 12 and older or 16?
I think it's 14. But whatever age it is.
They're assisting suicide there.
Canada's history. Canada is done. Their housing market is, well, you can watch lefties that ran away because Trump won because he's so evil and he's done really honest question. What has Donald Trump done since he got into office that has specifically impacted your life?
He breaks the law. That's what bothers me.
What law? What do you mean?
Okay, let me just give one example, and not to incite, like, we've been agreeing on a lot of things. I've been really enjoying that, but I do want to be direct and answer your question. So most current event, he initiated a military strike on Iran without congressional approval. That is
What president hasn't done that in the last 30, 40 years?
Obama did it 8 times at least.
So,
that's the trend. I agree with you. But that is how we function. Richard Nixon wrote in the War Powers Act.
The War Powers Act.
It got passed through Congress, and since then, that's all we've had.
So let me just address that. I wasn't involved in politics during Obama's, his administration. But if I had been, I would have raised the exact same objection. I don't think what's happening is in the best interest of Americans. I really don't, and that's what bothers me. I say, okay, let's take another example. Doge. That was not congressionally authorized, but it was just this.
Oh, but it was beautiful.
It was a whole big operation, though, that was not voted upon and approved. Congress holds the power of the purse, and they did not authorize all those expenditures of that personnel.
But my question for that is the CEO of this country is allowed to create departments.
Oh, hold on.
That was a department, and he's allowed to do that under his powers. And Doge was actually cutting dollars that were wasteful.
I got to get loosened up because I'm fired up. This is
people don't want to pay for
this is my section.
in Haiti to learn how to cook.
Can I lay down my section real quick?
Let me just say before you get going, I'm going to happily agree or disagree. I'm happy for the conversation. I just don't want you to feel like I'm trying to be adversarial here. I'm not.
Look, I'm going to tell you right now. I haven't been happy with a president, period. Except William Henry Harrison.
You weren't alive, so drop him.
I know, but anyways, let me lay this down. I am extremely particular on things being clear and exact. That is how I live. I don't like BS nuance. So.
Oh, good. Please be direct because I'm going to be direct back.
And please know in the beginning, we mean no disrespect.
Let me.
This is all in.
Hold on.
Fun.
All right. So Franklin Delano Roosevelt becomes president. He starts throwing around the weight of the presidency, threatening to add more Supreme Court justices till he gets his way. Just overall threats. Pretty much, I know he's a hero. Say this around my grandma, and she gets mad and grinds her 96-year-old teeth at me. But anyways, so he did that. At that time, he's a continuation of kind of the progressive era design where they want administrators to run everything, and us peons, we keep our trap shut.
Bureaucrats.
It was born in the Republican Party, but it found its home in the Democrat Party in the early 1900s. But anyways, so when he did that, Congress took a step back. They quit doing anything. So you can argue it's Congress's job to control the purse, but Congress didn't control the purse when most of those institutions were started. Congress didn't vote on the purse when most of that money was delegated. Congress didn't vote to make it happen, and then you expect them to vote to stop it? No, Doge was important. Trump screwed the pooch after Doge with that big, beautiful bill, but Doge was important. Now, granted, you could make the argument that it's a good thing that we send our money, our currency, to the far corners of the globe, because we're the base currency. And as the base currency, we want our money spread around so that people are more prone not to walk away from it. Because the minute they do that, our world falls to crap pretty quick. But it's kind of rough when not only are we being taxed at what I would consider a pretty extreme amount as a poor person, one
Cradle
of the
to
poorest,
grave.
but also we've got the invisible tax by them taking debt out in our name and our children's names. So yes, Doge needed to happen. Trump screwed that in the end, but it needed to happen. USAID, one, was taking our tax money that was taken from us at gunpoint,
basically,
and turning it around and putting it back into socialist means in our country, which were, again, for a person like me who is complete liberty person, to have them do that, to have them point a gun at me, take money and turn it around and put it into something that would completely dispose my way of life. You see what I'm saying?
And go against your values.
It was gross. It was disgusting that revolving door kept happening. So Doge needed to happen. Trump needed to not screw it up.
They needed to shine light on where your money was going in at USAID, and also the fact that it was getting funneled into these private groups, which then again were funneling it back into politics. So it was like a big circle. And for some of us, it felt like our tax dollars are funding our country's demise.
Do you know, I agree. I agree to a large extent with a couple of those points. So I'm trying to keep track in my head. I'm not taking notes here.
Yeah, go ahead.
But okay, so your point about taxation, I agree that we should have more transparency in how we're taxed. We're taxed on our income. We're taxed on what we spend. We're taxed on what we don't spend or buy or any. We already own our homes and we pay taxes every year that go up. Right? We're taxed
unrealized gains on our homes. We're paying for unrealized gains of our homes every single year.
Yes. And so I agree. That's a place where the light could shine, some transparency on how much we really pay in taxes. I 100% agree that we have an unfair system when it comes to taxes, and that it's a little extreme on how much tax we pay. I mean, we say we pay whatever it is, 25 or whatever percent we end up paying through income tax. But then they don't consider all these other taxes we also pay. We cannot do anything without paying a tax. Okay, we agree. Second thing, as I mentioned, I've worked in quality. I have been a quality engineer and found root cause time after time after time. So I agree with you that we needed to shine light on the waste in government. However, what I don't agree with is that Elon Musk and his team was actually qualified to do it, because as a quality engineer, what I saw them doing was appalling, just going in and shutting down. And that's not how you find waste in a process. What you do really, okay, I'll just be I mean, this is
what should have happened. I mean,
yeah, let me tell you.
So in case I ever get my hands on the powers, I can make it happen.
Yeah, let me share, because I can tell you I've done it. So if you've ever heard of Edwards Deming, he's one of the big starts of the quality the whole quality movement in started in the 30s, but 40s. It was after World War II, around the end of World War II, right? And it all started with statistics, believe it or not. Quality control is a statistical process. Control is how it started out.
Every time you say that, I hear lies, damn lies, and statistics.
Well, I don't remember who said that, but I'll tell you what, the math
Mark
does not
Twain.
lie. Oh, was that who it was? Well, so no, I get it because you can lie with statistics, but what I will tell you is I don't, because I take my professional reputation way too seriously to ever present something that was not what the math is truly saying. Okay. So, but anyway, there's a
But
whole
if it
system.
comes to government, doesn't that pervert it? Because your professional reputation would be trying to keep your job, so you're going to make the statistic reflect whatever the government wants
Or
to
whoever's
see.
in office at the time.
Well, that's like a whole other problem, right? Because it's a character problem and not a mathematical problem. So for me personally, I know everybody says they're honest and whatever, but I can't afford to lie because I need my job to pay my bills. So people need to know they're getting the real
But
answer.
that's why they would, for government, they would be the opposite.
Yeah,
Because
right.
government,
I can see what you're saying.
government really doesn't work on meritocracy. I don't know if you've noticed.
No, I 100% agree, and it's shocking to me. Really, I was too naive when I was younger.
Yes. But anyways, go on. So how would you have done it? Because
So
I like the way Doge did it. I like kicking the doors in and saying, you guys have robbed the populace for long enough. You have betrayed their trust for long enough. Get out.
Well, I think he went into the program.
I don't think he went far enough.
No, I don't think they went far enough.
I would
either.
have liked to have seen bread lines. I'm not kidding.
Oh my goodness.
So this is where that is actually not what works to improve quality. What works, and I'm going to use manufacturing because I think we can at least talk about that with that, and then we could switch over to politics. But this is what would happen if so, and these things have actually I've done this, and I can tell you I worked on a manufacturing line at BD in Sandy, right? They called me in. They were setting up a new automated system. They were having a lot of parts fail during inspection, and they needed someone to come in and figure out what was going wrong. So I didn't go in there and shut things down. What I did is I talked to every single operator, and I didn't just talk to them. First, I asked them, will you teach me your job? And so I learned from them, but I was doing two things. I was learning what had to happen, but I was also learning how they did it. Right. And so then I would, after I did that, I went through each step. I learned every station of that automated production line. Not only did I learn the system and learn what the people that worked on it did, I asked them their opinion of what was going wrong. So I listened to them. In addition, with permission, I would get in a machine, like open a machine, look in to see what is the real process that's happening. And that's the start, is really understand the system, not just go in and shut it down, but understand what's going on, because then you can say, okay, when we have a failure, we find it at this station, or this operator saying it's hot every time the machine shut down, or something like that, right? So you pay attention to what's happening, you learn the system, and then you start to get a sense of, okay, looks like probably where we need to do further investigation. And I see that's the part that really bothered me about Doges. Like you're saying, they went in and just shut things down, but really you can't understand what's going wrong by doing that. All you're doing is just putting a wrench in the works and shutting it all down. And I'll just end.
When you're finished, I would like to say something.
Okay, I just want to say that what I found out, without going into a ton of detail, but what I found out is actually it was one of their photograph stations taking a picture of the finished part to either reject it or accept it, was actually misreading the tray the
Oh my
parts were
goodness.
sitting on. Yeah, so it's like the problems don't necessarily have to be some big entangled thing. Sometimes it's a simple thing that you can put a very small effort into solving if you put the big effort into understanding the problem.
So what I'd like to say, and that's such a good point, and sometimes it's not your gas line that's bad, it's not this and that that's bad, it's your gas gauge is broken,
Yeah.
When Trump was elected, it was a mandate election, taking both House and Senate and his presidency. And he ran with the notion that we were going to have a Doge and Elon Musk was going to oversee it. Why does he have any relevance? Elon Musk is the richest man in the world. Elon Musk comes from I work on a bottom line and profit margin life where the government doesn't. They have endless dollars, and if they don't have them, they print them, and they promise our great-great-grandchildren's money in the whole process. That's our government. So when you get a businessman who cares about the bottom line and about efficiency, I think that has relevance. And for him to go in, he was only in there for so many days that he would be allotted to get in there and get started, and the people that joined him. There was a mandate by the people that was requiring and expecting this from our president when he was inaugurated. And I wanted to see it. My Democrat neighbor wanted to see it. We wanted to see where our money was going, because at the end of the day, we are all victims of our government when it comes to overreach on taxes. We started a revolution over tea tax in a nutshell. We weren't going to take that tea tax from the king, and we overthrew the government. Here we are, taxed cradle to grave. Cradle to grave. There's even death tax that some people are trying to bring back to where if you make anything, they want to take it, especially big ranches and establishments like that. They want to tax a business because the owner died and the family's inheriting it. They don't want any more Waltons who become the richest family in the world. It's like they're pulling the ladder up behind them. And it doesn't matter how they vote. It doesn't matter. It's about the green, all about the green. And it's sad. And here's where Doge was a necessity, is they stopped too soon. I don't care if Donald Trump had a disagreement with Elon or how that went. But the big, beautiful bill was another problem when Doge is saying, whoa, 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 what are we saving all this money for over here when you're just going to spend it in this bill? I have a problem with that. And I am a national delegate for Donald Trump. I was in Milwaukee for Donald Trump. I had a problem with that. I wanted Doge so bad I couldn't see straight. We talked about that. This has to happen because I am so tired of giving money to countries who hate us. Number one, who hate us, wish us dead. Number two, countries that don't give us anything back. Not that we need anything back. We're a good country. We're a Christian nation. We want to help other people, of course. But we're involved in cultural wars around this nation, not just involved, but our money is starting them. Why are we trying to get kids to transition in cultures like in the Middle East,
in Pakistan,
where it'll get them killed? It'll get them killed. Why would we be doing that?
They weren't really doing that. That was the smokescreen. They said they were doing that, but that's the money that came back here and revolved into socialist systems here because our government, and surprise, surprise, our government workers, our bureaucracies has been invaded by socialists. They have been invaded by people who like the new mayor of New York City.
I like
people with that idea that it's been invaded by that, and it's a natural thing. The schools got invaded by that. There was a book written in '94, the year I graduated, where a lady talked about that, and it hasn't slowed it down. And
government employees are almost impossible to fire.
And
they're
you can't
almost
get rid of them.
impossible to fire. And you know what? The bureaucrat is the one consistent. It doesn't matter who's in charge at the top, if it's a Republican or a Democrat. Their jobs are cushy, and they don't have to change as much. So when you get a wrecking ball in there like Trump that says, okay, no more. We're not going to have the FBI tracking down Americans who were here, here, and here. It was Bush that gave us the Patriot Act. It was a Republican that invaded Americans' privacy. And yet it's wrong. I don't want FBI, CIA to have a party side. I don't want the Department of Education to have a party side. I want them to adhere to our Constitution. And I'm tired of being taxed cradle to grave because it's coming constantly. And we don't get a say in where our money goes. We don't get a say.
I think we are fighting the same fight from a different direction, honestly. I agree. I agree with the whole idea that government is bloated. I agree that we need basically that process to go through and make sure we're really getting what we're paying for it. 100% agree. I just don't think Doge was qualified to do it, and I don't think they did quite the right job,
I don't
honestly.
know what would be qualified though. That's my
You need
question.
you need some people that are trained in this process and those. Okay, let's just
Well,
go back.
hold
For
on. So okay, what Doge used was um well, mostly computer people because most of the work they did was on the computer side.
IT,
It was computer forensics was most of their job.
follow the money.
But
Um,
they weren't trained in process
are you
diagnostics.
sure?
I'm pretty sure because I think they were
I would, I
mostly.
would, I would double check that. I'm big on never making a statement I'm unsure of.
Well,
I'm
I'm
real
pretty
big on
sure for at least from what I heard, if they were, I'd be surprised because they were all like about 18 to 20. And it took me, let's see, 4 years for a bachelor's, 2 years for a master's.
Well, these
And
were hackers that could hack into
Well,
the
they're
FBI if
not
they
right.
wanted
hackers.
to.
But I'm
Some
not talking about the computer part. I'm talking about understanding process and how to
I
diagnose,
mean,
run a
Big Balls was a
diagnostic on it.
young guy, but we're talking. I mean, again, we're looking at people who are familiar with this modern industrial revolution. I would argue right now our college systems aren't equipped even to compete with people who learn this on their own, just
And
like
I'm going to
every other
disagree there.
industrial revolution has proven what I'm saying. Every other one.
Mm.
The colleges were teaching the last industry. These are the guys that are building this new industry. These are the guys that are inventing it.
But there's a difference between inventing an industry and running diagnostics on what's currently happening to find where there's waste occurring or where there's process issues. There really is a difference there. So I won't disagree with you that maybe they're on the cutting edge of the latest technology, but that does not make them experts on finding fraud in a system. It's a different process in my experience.
Do you not think that
But
AI
it's
could do that job eventually? If
No.
not now, then in a
Oh, wait,
few.
no. Eventually, maybe, but not now. No.
my argument is we gave you 250 years and you failed. There's my argument.
Okay, so my argument would be going back to that Citizens United. And we've all agreed that it doesn't seem to matter which party the president's administration is, we still see abuse, right? Different things
Mhm.
happening that it should not be happening. What I would say to that is all the money funneling into those major campaigns is coming from the same people. So guess who's calling the shots? It's not the Republican or Democrat, party and their ideology. It's really the billionaires who are pumping money into the system because if you look at it,
You mean like
and
a
just like,
shadow government?
huh?
Like a shadow government?
I
Because
don't.
there
I,
are ideas that it is the wealthiest that live among us that are really running our government.
right.
Every
Think about it.
government
Now,
is an
just
oligarchy.
think
That
about
is a
it.
law.
Yeah.
That is a
You think
physics,
Since
not just a
when does
law.
the president of the United States advertise cars, right? What's he doing? He's helping his donor, right?
Well,
I mean,
okay,
and I'm not talking about party here. I'm
you make
talking
a good
about.
point, but it's
His
happened many other times except with laws. Remember Cash for Clunkers?
Yeah, I don't. Sorry,
You don't
that
remember
was
Cash for
Obama's.
Clunkers?
I really wasn't. I
Uh,
was not
Well, hold on.
political
Let me
before
flow
this.
through.
advertising electric cars,
Let me flow
environmental
through this.
cars.
So Cash for Clunkers, Obama went in and put our money to have older cars crushed, right?
Okay.
Now, I don't know if you've bought a car recently. Have you?
Yeah, actually, about a year and a half ago.
And was it a reasonable price?
I felt like it was kind of expensive, but
Do you? Now,
Yeah, they're like,
now I want you to compare the same car 15 years ago.
yeah.
Now,
Oh, yeah. Big difference.
right? Cash for Clunkers did that, right? It made it so that the supply and demand curve leaned so that the demand curve was heavier than the supply curve. made everything
It
more
made
expensive.
cars $50,000 now.
You
basically.
don't just advertising a car. Yeah, it's the guy is a showman, right? And I don't want to have to stand up for Trump. Crazy notions keep making me stand up for him.
Well, you don't have to
I
for my
want to
sake.
dog him for stuff that I feel he's done wrong. But I'm one of those guys who likes to dig into weird history, right? The history that normal people cringe at.
I respect that.
You know,
Nerd.
I like to dig into that stuff. And I'm a maintenance mechanic in industry, so I also understand your field. Except I'm the guy who goes out and finds that hot part and swaps it. But so every president has boosted a bit of industry they like. And normally it comes at a new bit of industry. Now, Obama did it because we had the 2008 crash, and a lot of car companies, I don't know if you remember, but they were going and getting loans from the government at the time. So he did cash for clunkers to boost their industry so they'd sell more cars. Granted, all politicians have the shortest forward view that any human being could have. You know, worms see further into the future than politicians because it's collapsed our vehicle market. Now, could he have done that? Maybe because he had ulterior motives that he wanted everyone to move to mass transit. A lot of people say that. I don't like to.
Or electric.
I don't like to lay those notions on people, but because again, I don't like to make just vague accusations. I like to have
He likes
concrete.
bold ones.
It's got to be concrete. It's got to be provable.
Yeah.
So I think he just did it just to boost so that car companies quit getting loans from the U.S. government. You know, remember they chastised the CEO who flew there on a private jet. You're here to get a loan and you flew here on a private jet? Tell me about that.
Is that GMC?
Yeah, it was GMC that did that.
So
But-
that's where I'm at a real disadvantage there because I literally did not pay attention to politics until the last 10 years. And in 10 years, I really only really focused in the last few.
And I don't blame you for that, and that's fine. Honestly, I don't get involved in politics except to kind of gripe about all of them universally. You know, just kind of universal. I mean, you know, I'm weird like that, but so all politicians do things like that. The way Trump does it is the way a carnival barker would do it versus the way the CEO of a I don't know, a Fortune 500 would do it. But they all do that all the time, every
That
time.
seems like a fair point. That seems
Yes,
like a fair point.
the big one to argue would be how President Ulysses S. Grant did it when it came to railroads.
Right.
He did the same
Trump's
thing.
doing it with AI. He's doing it with SpaceX.
You know, so there's all those things. Now, I understand why the technology guys, once AI is born and there's a race going on the world right now that most people don't even recognize is happening. It is cutthroat. It is wild.
It's terrifying.
It's the most intense race that has happened in 2 lifetimes, right? More intense than the automobile being invented or airplanes or any of that. It's a race that is happening globally. It is a race that's going to decide the future of everyone. And those guys, all of them, were pro-Democrat until that race is born. Once that race is born, they all recognized that they would not be able to run. One, the U.S. would fall if the Democrats had their way with regulations.
Fascinating point, because I would have said the exact opposite.
They would die.
Elon Musk was a big Democrat. with
Elon
the
Musk
AI
gave money.
birth,
How about Zuckerberg, the bald guy that runs Amazon? All of them Democrats until this very last election.
Well, that's to do with regulation, though, right? They don't want to have to protect people's privacy.
It's the AI race, though. The race isn't just between them. It's not Zuckerberg with Meta and Elon Musk with Grok.
And Alphabet with Google.
Yeah, it's not just that. There's 5 or 6 in China.
There's a lot
Yeah.
in China.
There's a couple in India.
China doesn't have regulations like
This
the
is a
United
global
States.
race.
Well, so
And so they don't just stand to lose to each other, because if it was just over here, they could probably work within regulations and compete within our umbrella.
The smart AI
But
is
they're
not gonna be
competing globally.
controllable
And I'm
once
not
it gets out there.
justifying them. Don't mistake me for justifying. I'm just pointing out the historical moment where we stand.
but the terrifying part of it that I think a lot of people don't understand, because I agree with you that it's terrifying, but the reason regulation is so important, and I understand we can't regulate China, I get that, but the reason it's so terrifying is because, you know what? AI it's a statistical model, and I know they build in all these algorithms, but it started out as neural networks, which is this part of statistics courses, right?
Yeah.
Where you make a decision at all these different points, and the thing that makes it workable as AI is how fast your computer goes. But you're making a decision at all these points. But what people don't understand is at every point it's saving that data. So if you say, my name is Anita Dalrymple, and I'd like to know about some foot disease or something, I'm just making something up. So I have some health thing I'm concerned about, and I put it in there. As part of that algorithm, the system has to save every bit of that information. So then when I go to my insurance company and want to get some special foot insurance or something, and totally making this up because it's ridiculous scenario, and then they say, no, we won't insure you for that because our database says that you have a pre-existing foot problem. We're never going to insure your feet. That's the kind of terrifying that makes me want some kinds of regulations to protect people's privacy.
That's what Elon Musk has been fighting for over this whole AI thing, is that it has to be regulated, because on the other side, they want to set it free and own it. The other side. And that was the big argument in
Democrats?
court. No, the other AI companies, the birth of these AIs coming
I
out.
see.
And
Okay.
and Elon's like, we can't have this thing going willy-nilly. We got to have moral controls on it. There's got to be, you can't have an AI coaxing a child to kill themselves because the child makes a great argument.
Right.
You
I
can't.
think you guys are arguing for the fast internet search machines with the AI they are developing.
No, they knew AI is smart AI. It's training
This
itself.
thing that we're calling AI is not AI. Now, granted, it's the base of it, but there's other things that is happening. This like, I think Elon Musk bought Twitter not to save free speech, though that was a happy outcome, because it did. It made it so that you could finally on Twitter call a transgender by their birth sex and not get kicked off, right? Because it's ridiculous.
I don't quite agree with that, but I get what you're saying.
You don't agree with it, but you get what I'm saying?
Right. I get that people want to make
your ability to speak
hold
for
on.
yourself.
You control the speech, you control the mind. You see what
I
I'm
agree with that.
So,
Go ahead.
So it hurts people's feelings, sure, but now turn that into something else that's Republican controlled.
That is Republican controlled.
Free speech?
No,
when they were forcing you to gender people by their whatever.
Well,
no, I'm just saying that
President of the United States.
That was Democrat controlled then. It was after Elon bought it, he changed it.
So we're saying it transitioned from Democrat leaning to Republican leaning.
Well, it was progressive then, and it turned to libertarian.
Yeah, it wasn't Republican or Democrat. It was just free speech
hardcore
absolutist. If you have the Taliban able to have a Twitter account, but you won't allow the president of the United States to have one, you got a problem there, regardless of what they're saying.
We don't even need to go to the president. We just need to go to
Alex Jones.
No, we don't have to go anything extreme. There was a lady in New Jersey who called a transgender person by their birth sex, and Twitter kicked her off. And she was an older lady. The Babylon Bee got kicked off. They make jokes. They're like the Onion. So they were controlling thought. And So
I'll
he,
just jump in and say I agree that the platforms, yes, I agree. The platforms are controlling what people can say. No argument.
well, they've been released since then.
Twitter has.
And well, no, most of them have. Remember when you couldn't say anything about COVID?
Actually, I don't think that's exactly true because
This
now
very show,
if you say Epstein and Trump on Facebook, they'll shut you down.
this
No,
very,
Facebook's not like Twitter.
this very show had over the 3-year period had 6 shows pulled for COVID spit just for talking about it.
We're talking about the vaccine. You couldn't talk about the vaccine, which is something I wanted to ask you about with your profession.
But no, that's just crazy. That they were restricting thought. They were restricting ideas. And that's the Progressive Party because they were in ascension. Remember the people who marched at Berkeley were now the old people in the party that was restricting speech because they went from the bottom to ascension. They ascended to the levers of power. And when you have the levers of power, you use them.
Well, I think you're right that every platform is going to take some control, and it's just what they find acceptable that's going to prevail, right? So,
But what if it's only acceptable that aims positively in one direction and negatively in the other?
I just think that's a reality of owning the business and running.
Sure, but okay.
Private business, you don't have to be on that platform.
And so it was when Babylon B got deleted, was when Elon Musk, because he had just had an interview with them, Elon Musk came and said, all right, I'm going to buy Twitter at the time. And so there was that haranguing, and then he backed out like in a fake, and then Twitter went to court and made him buy it. But what I think, everyone thinks that he bought Twitter for free speech. And I call him the most important human alive today. Easily the most important human alive. I know progressives hate that. They want to say he's worthless and no good. But I watched a rocket ship come back to Earth in one piece because of that human.
Oh.
Whether he invented it, it was his idea. Most important human alive. Now, I don't care if you disagree or agree.
College educated or self-taught?
It's a little bit of both. But I promise you, the history books that your great grandkids will read, that's what they'll be taught.
His whole plan was to go to Mars to get us off of this toxic planet. Unless
some crazy kooky people take over and they shut down and they formulate future knowledge. But that's neither here nor there. If they just lay out history as it was, that's what they'll be taught. But
so history is from a perspective, though.
You could say it's from a perspective, but no one else is coming anywhere close to moving the human race forward as him.
See, and that's where we would disagree, because I think he buys a lot of people's ideas. I don't think he formulates them. So maybe I would concede, okay, so maybe he's a good promoter, maybe he's a good marketer, but I don't think he's this major genius inventing all this stuff.
Well, okay, let me ask you this. Did Tesla, before he bought it, have even a car?
See, I don't know. I didn't follow that.
They had a blueprint. And he was a part of the initial design.
He was a designer and a dreamer. We were on the list to buy the first Tesla, my husband and I.
SpaceX.
It was baffling how much he knows.
That's him. He drove it. He drove them to get to space for cheaper than the government would.
He's not a dumb person.
And then our government is buying lifts from him. And then he came up and he said, I want it to land and be in one piece. He did that, drove the price down again. And then he said, I want it to land on its landing pad, and I want it to be caught. I don't want to have to collect it from the ocean. But I'm not here to justify him. Where I was going with this was, I think he bought X because X is probably the largest global algorithm of general humanity. I think he bought that just for his large language learning model, Grok, to learn from.
Very well could.
I completely think that's all he did. And I use Grok all the time. It's
Everyone on
It's
Twitter
the-
uses it.
It's the best free AI engine, even though it's not AI.
And
It's just a
again,
large language learning model.
It basically scours the internet in seconds and will find all the data compiled and on that subject and spit it out. And the thing is it's still learning. But the fact that when I'm learning about this super intelligent AI, like you said, we can't even call it that because it's going to be something totally different. Next thing you know, it's going to be knowledge that is going to be the currency in our lives because, and it's not necessarily college knowledge. It's like right now, our kids could get a college degree on YouTube from a lot of different people and not pay a dime. And yet we're getting sold this bill of goods that you have to attend a college and you're going in debt for $200,000 and you're going to attend to get that degree. When, like you said earlier, if we took a lot of the resources that we have right now and put technology into it, let our high school kids go to college via technology and not spend the $200K and learn from people who know what they're talking about and go out and go into the world with that knowledge. AI is starting to replace menial jobs that a McDonald's worker. I mean, you're replacing people with technology at the low levels. White collar jobs are going to be replaced first.
They're going to be wiped out.
There's no need for a financial analysis because AI can watch the markets worldwide and watch the patterns and actually give you good, stable advice and on patterns alone, which a lot of our financial advisors use. There's going to be, and they're thinking for themselves. Now you get to talk now because we've been talking.
Well, and also you'd be high if before you went and saw a doctor if you didn't consult AI first nowadays.
I use AI for every test result I've gotten, and it has been dead on with my doctors. In fact, it's given me more suggestions. It's helped me be in control of my care in a way that my doctors are like, wow, that's a great question. Yeah, we could try that. And yet they didn't think of it, and AI did. And eventually, and I actually think this, I'm sure doctors put the test results through AI because it is
if they're not, they're high.
They're crazy not to, because it is all the information in the world in real time. I bet AI is going to cure cancer for us in some way, shape, or form, because those doctors doing their trials with sick people and trying certain things in a controlled environment and all of that, and they're putting it in this little data, and AI picks it up and adds it to other doctors' findings in real time. We could really find an answer. And it's not guarded by any government programs or a money thing or a college. I mean, it could be really amazing. It could be amazing, but it also could be terrifying. Please share.
Exactly. It could be terrifying. And the truth is that companies that are very savvy are not putting their data out there into general AI. They're keeping it all within house where it cannot escape, because you can lose all of your IP by doing that, and then you lose your competitive advantage. So even though that might seem like a good idea, it's not a great idea, because if companies aren't going to make money, they're not going to continue to innovate. And AI can only deal with what you fed it, right? So it can't have a new development. It can only aggregate what it can find on the web. So I think you have some really, really good points, but I just think AI is not to the point, and as a culture, we're not just to a point where we could use it in a way that it could say solve cancer. We're not to that point.
I think because we as the layman are viewing a large language learning model, which is just an internet algorithm machine. There's other things out there. I'm sure I don't even know the half of what's out there, that they have engines that invent things, not correlate things, but that invent, that tell you, and not just inventing
weapons,
inventing things that have been invented and just reformulating them. I'll bet they're inventing things. I'll bet there are, and that's the machine, that's the future. This large language learning model that we both use in fear is not even what all of these new captains of industry are fighting for or trying to achieve. That's been achieved. It's there. It's across the board. I mean, every country probably has one right now that they rely on. Some countries have multiple. I think the US, we're probably running 300 or 400 different models you can jump onto. They're being advertised everywhere if you're searching for stuff. They've got pay models.
Companies have a private option too, where they can buy a basic,
And they do.
They do an in-house AI program that actually works for their own private company. Because of that, they don't want to go beyond a firewall or let their protected data get out, and their ideas. And especially with China, who is impeccable at stealing businesses and their intelligence in the technology, especially. There's a lot in security that's happening, and these companies are investing in this AI package, but this AI learns and it will do what you need it to do based on what you put into it and what your goals are for it.
Well, let's just say Isaac Asimov really was the father of the future with iRobot and all his other.
That's true.
Yeah, we kind of already got this picture like in the 60s. You know what I mean?
Terminator, though, that should have every one of us going, wait a minute. Oh, it's back.
I've seen that documentary.
Can I ask you a question? That you talked about COVID, and you were talking about when Donald Trump was doing his daily discussions with the public regarding the illness. What are your thoughts about, because a president can only speak for the people feeding him information. He's not a biologist, and he's not a virus doctor or anything like that. What were your thoughts on Dr. Fauci and his ups and downs on his information?
I have a lot of respect for Dr. Fauci. He was an epidemiologist for decades. The places that I felt like Trump went wrong weren't really related to what he said from Dr. Fauci. It was more his own ruminations. Like where he's suggesting we use UV lights in people and, bleach in people and things like this. And I thought, wow, that he really went off script there.
Well, he was misunderstanding the information, I'm sure, trying to dumb it down for the rest of us.
Possibly. But in any case, I was very concerned that anybody would say that to the public in a crisis,
Well, I was concerned that Dr. Fauci would literally do an interview talking about how masks don't work and we don't need them, and then turning around and going to Congress and saying, mask everybody. I thought COVID showed, for me, it was an absolute abhorrent display of what the government can do when it turns on you.
I agree.
Taking away your freedoms and taking away your right to breathe and taking away, and it was okay for people to protest and burn cities down without a mask, but heaven forbid you go to church. I mean, that was an absolute crazy year in itself, but a big campaign of misinformation of what we do best on the internet and the social webs and the socials. But then you have the president getting information from someone that turns around and gives different information, and almost felt like he was trying to make him look stupid.
Okay, so on that topic, I agree with you that Dr. Fauci, I think it was a grave error for him to say that we didn't need masks. And I later heard him say the reason he said that is they were concerned about saving masks for the first responders, and they didn't want the public to buy up all the supply and then not have them for the first responders. But I think it was incredibly irresponsible.
I think that was his excuse.
But I think it was irresponsible for him to have told the public they didn't need a mask if in fact, well, we know, I feel confident that having a mask helped slow the spread. Definitely. I did not get sick during any of that, and I had a mask the whole time. It wasn't until I quit wearing a mask I actually got COVID. So I feel like the part that was wrong is not trusting the public to take the information that he believed to be the truth and doing the right thing with it. That's the part I felt like was wrong.
Can I? A couple of questions. Okay, one, historical me remembers Fauci during the AIDS. Actually, I didn't remember Fauci during the AIDS epidemic. I researched Fauci, remembered the AIDS epidemic, and a name got tied into that when when he was giving that drug that was killing people to patients with AIDS and whatever that other virus was. And he was a well of bullshit then too. When he was saying Hep C, he's giving it to people with Hep C, killing them. And he was saying, he always a well of bullshit every time he turned around. And then you look into what appears his cover up of his involvement with making a virus like COVID in Wuhan, where COVID first showed up. And then he covers that up.
Gain of research.
Gain of function research.
Or gain of function, yeah.
And I'm like, and I remember the government working so hard to protect him. And now everyone's wondering, well, why can't we go after him? Well, because, Biden gave him a pardon.
Which he did
for something he wasn't convicted of, right? So why did he get a pardon? Why doesn't Trump ignore that pardon and go after him? Well, because the Democrats have already shown a propensity to try to drag Trump into, or their opponents into, courts for frivolous or not stuff. And so I think that's a long game being played by the Republicans. It's going to be an interesting, I can't wait to read history books 30 years
and I'm curious too. Trump pushed for a vaccine, and he pushed and brought everyone together to create a vaccine. And Kamala and Biden is saying, well, I wouldn't take a vaccine like that. And then Biden's elected, and then the government is putting all their resources into advertising that you have to get this vaccine. It is a pandemic versus it's unvaccinated versus vaccinated. And they all of a sudden switched when it was Biden's administration, but it was Trump's vaccine.
All the vaccine companies have it.
I wasn't for it. I wasn't for it under Trump either.
They have it in October, and they wait to announce they have it until the end of January.
This is baffling.
This is all of this. I honestly, here's my opinion.
How to respond? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I gotta admit, I really don't know. I didn't dig into that. What I will say is that I do believe vaccines work. I'm not scared of getting vaccines, but I also try not to take any kind of medication I don't feel like I need, because I do feel like there is a big push in our society to take a lot more stuff than we need to. Okay, and I'll just back up. I think that if we just ate better and exercised and took a little better care of ourselves, maybe less stress and things like that, we'd probably be a lot healthier as a society. I don't believe in taking a lot of medication, except for, some fairly extreme scenarios. Some people have high blood pressure or whatever, but maybe a lot of that could be prevented. So I'm much more on the side of preventing the need for care than I am, pushing a lot of, the big pharma and all of that. And that's maybe unusual for somebody coming from medical device, but I'll tell you what, at my age, I don't take any medication. I don't have any prescribed medication. And I try to be active. I try to eat like I avoid highly processed foods.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff.
We have a lot of poison in our foods. We really do. But that's refreshing to hear somebody in the medical field that's says, the answer is not necessarily drugs. It's what you're putting in your body. And I would love to see cleaner food in this country, and a push for people to demand cleaner food and less medication.
People too. It shouldn't just be that people with more money can afford organic food, right? We need that to be more available.
Well, I mean, that's a tough one right there. Wasn't thinking about poor versus rich as far as eating well.
That's where we're at.
I know Donald Trump is rich and he eats McDonald's every day.
That's true.
But I think, just produce in general, we don't have the mindset, we're quick and easy right now type of food people now, whereas we used to sit down to meals as kids and we used to eat vegetables and fruits and all of that. but it's only gotten worse. And the dyes and the corn starch or the corn syrup and everything in our food, it's poisoning us, which makes us sicker. And we need drugs to get better. And it's this vicious circle. But
Yeah.
exercise is it's the natural drug, right? It's the natural antidepressant. It's a natural blood pressure reducer, cholesterol reducer. Exercise is a huge answer. But who has time for that? We're all working our butts off in order to pay the taxes.
Well, so I want to bring that back, if you don't mind, just bring it back to the whole thing we started with both parties taking money from the same groups, et cetera, et cetera. And this is my kind of like dominant thought, is that we shouldn't be in a culture war with each other. We should be in a class. Well, we are. Let's just say we are, and you can disagree with me. That's okay. But we're in a class war where the people that are funneling money into our political campaigns are funneling that money into both parties, and they're really controlling the agenda, because we even talked about, these the people in charge push for wherever the money is can't come from. And if we could get past this culture war part of it and just admit that we all have the same needs as human beings, that we can work together, we can help each other, and tax the rich. Let's let that pay for some of these things that we need paid for, like you're saying, all this money pushed to our grandkids, and get back to a place where we're all Americans, where we're all working for the same basic benefits that everybody needs, like roads and hospitals and things like that, and quit fighting with each other and letting the rich people take all the money.
So wait. So how much more do you want to tax them? They get taxed a lot. In fact, they pay the majority of the taxes that
Not
cover
the well,
roads.
ultra billionaires don't. They don't take a salary. They take
Oh,
loans against
how
their.
many ultra billionaires are there?
That's all I'm talking about. I'm not talking about not like regular income tax. I'm talking about the people who never pay taxes because they know how to get around it because they have that kind of money. That's where I think that we could improve our society, because I don't think we need to fight over things like pronouns. I don't think we need to fight over it. I don't think we
I,
need to fight over what we do in our own homes. I really don't. I'm kind of a live and let live person. Y'all live
I'm
your
not.
life the way you want to, and I shouldn't have any business knowing about it, right?
I agree.
I'm not going to disagree with you on most of that, but what I'm going to say is I don't believe the argument is on do we need to tax certain groups more. That's perverse to me.
That's not fair.
Just taxes, and also those taxes get funneled into a corrupt system, which is further corrupting. I think our issue is that government systems have been built as hammers, and they continually are used as such. My case in point is where California writes a law. True story, laying out true story. California writes a law where we'll do it on a story on, we'll do about the pronouns and transgender thing. California writes a law where a school can initiate the transition, meaning the social side of the transition, without having to notify the parent, and then reinforces the ability for parents who want to have a transition done. They will carry more two if the opposite parent does not. Now, there's a case, a guy in Texas whose child had twins, two fraternally twin boys. And the mother, for whatever kooky reason, decides when the child is 4 that one of those boys needs to be a girl. And Texas says no. So she runs to California.
She moved there.
And California says yes. And because the father kept trying to fight it legally through the courts, he is now going to spend 2 years in prison.
For being a bigot. And
the child is fucking 4.
Whoa.
And they're going to mutilate a 4-year-old.
Um, okay, so you're asking me what?
That government has been built as a hammer. And that's why the culture war, I don't think, is about the haves or have nots, because let's look at it. The pores are on both sides. You got the pores are equally spread across. And then you've got your college educated lean more towards the Democrat side. And no offense, I think if you went to college, they drilled a hole in your head and pushed common sense out. I'm not kidding.
I went to college, so that is offensive.
I'm going to college as we speak.
Well, then you're getting a drill.
I know, and it's, but honestly, they come out indoctrinated and kind of retarded. But anyways, so, and then you've got them, and then when you get up to your ultra wealthy, of course they float. They're international. They don't really care. They will buy their way through whatever comes in front of them. Just like Donald Trump was a Democrat until he bought his way to be a Republican.
I had one little point to that. These people also helped arrange how the tax code was written. So let's remember that.
Funny about that. And the regulations.
People in government wrote that tax code for people who are ultra wealthy. And Donald Trump pointed that out. I don't pay taxes because the people in Washington gave me all these routes to make it so that I don't have to. If it was a flat tax, everybody had skin in the game, 10%, it'd be a different country. Absolutely different country.
Just like Imperial Chicken wrote the first FDA regulation.
Well, but going back to the flat tax, I would love that. And I know people like progressive tax because they feel like it's more fair, but I think anyway, we could just make it fair. That was my only point with the ultra rich, is that you're right. They don't pay any taxes.
I agree, but I don't think our argument's on that. I think we need to lower taxes to weaken the government. The government shouldn't be this large hammer.
You should have a budget
that can enforce an idea of your neighbor on you.
And that goes back to the whole transparency and accountability, right? If we know exactly what they're doing, the people can start stopping it. If we think about television before reality shows or whatever, they showed us these pretend scenarios, and now we're saying, no, that's not real. Like you think of the 1950s household, woman in a dress all day long doing all the chores, whatever. We don't believe it, so they don't show us that anymore. And if we start telling the government, no, we don't believe it, and we can see what you're doing, you have to change. That was my point with the transparency. And the more we can see into it, the more we can affect it.
That's what Doge did for a lot of us in America. We went, what? Why would we be paying for this stuff? Why aren't we giving our veterans who are homeless and our American families who are homeless these resources? Why aren't we putting it back into our roads, our bridges? Why aren't we putting it into our public safety? Why are we putting it into immigrants that we're booting out our own homeless people, or we got single moms feeding children on food stamps, and they don't have they're struggling for even the most simple of things, and we're throwing our tax dollars at stuff. You and I don't want my taxes to go to Planned Parenthood. I morally disagree with killing babies. I morally disagree with it. And yet, how long do we have to fight to go, wait a minute.
You're forced to pay for it.
I have to pay for it. It's a 501c3 that should be raising money on its own, just like every other 501c3 not getting a tax handout. At the same time, there is so much money. We can't even fathom how much money is getting sucked out of every single American taxpayer. And I mean taxpayer, not people who get all their money back at the end of the year. I'm talking about people who feel it. People who feel it writing that check to the federal government, and businesses feel it more than anything. And they have no say. Businesses have no say in roads getting completed outside or regulation getting done. It's small businesses that are in our local areas, for example. They don't have a vote. But they're paying into those taxes. And so we get into all of this and we watch the waste, and then we see the abuse, and then we see the fraud, and we watch our politicians get richer and richer and get bolder and bolder, slapping us in the face. They wrote this tax code. They wrote it.
Did
and
you
they
see Dan
drag
Crenshaw
it out
lost?
for years and years to get one thing passed, like voter ID, for example, which 80% of America, Republican, Democrat, agree with. And they're dragging their feet on national polls. And yet our government is slow as Christmas. And we're sitting here watching this in our faces constantly. And what can we do? We can't all stop paying the IRS. Who dares go first?
Right.
They will punish you and they will take everything from you. And they won't even report you on the news. The left isn't going to say, oh, these people just refused to pay their taxes, or a whole county refused to pay their taxes. There's room enough for us all to go to jail together. They'll make sure of that.
Yeah. So you brought up about 6 or 8 points there.
Sorry, ADD. I do.
Well, I won't go back. I won't go back all through them, but I will say that I think fundamentally we're in agreement. We don't want our government taking more money than it needs just to run our basic services, and we do want that transparency to know what they're doing. I think the thing we're disagreeing on is what needs to be fixed. What's the root cause? How do we fix it? What's the best route to go about that? And I really think that's probably based on what you've both said tonight. Where we are not aligning is just how do we fix this problem?
Well, and some people don't see it as a problem. This is where I have issue. You and I could be sitting at a table and, someday we could be making a vote on a bill. I would look to you and expect you to give me that fundamental increment statistics that's going to tell me where this problem started, because you're the researcher and you're going to go back into that bill that they're trying to fix this thing. You're the type of person that sounds like that's going to go back in and you're going to go line by line and figure out where the mistakes were made and how to find the answer. Where we might differ in what the right thing to do is, because what you might think is the right thing, to me, I'm not willing to spend the money on that thing. Or I disagree with you that it could be Planned Parenthood, for example. Yes, this is a problem, but at the end of the day, I have a moral objection to this. And I know I'm not alone. And I know my constituents would have something to say about it, because I would have already tried to reach out to them. But I stand firm on this issue. Whereas you could say, well, this issue is also helping. It's doing this, and it's providing services for the people that don't have the money and this and that. And I'm like, well, it's genocide on a whole race of people in some states. And there's a lot of children not being born who are Black because it's rampant. These places are all over, Black neighborhoods. You and I will have a difference of opinion on the right thing, even though we can totally see step by step, because you've done, you present your case. And this is what scares me in government, is that we all have to have our moral compass, right? But is it too much to ask that we think of Americans first? I mean, if we started at the table with that, Americans first, we focus on Americans first. Is that crazy?
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that perspective, because I don't think we can help other people if we can't take care of ourselves. I really have no issue with that. Now, going back to where you're talking about a moral difference with a particular issue, and I don't want to get into anything too explosive, because I think we're probably getting close to the end of our time. But I will say that I used to feel the exact same way about abortion. And then my aunt had an ectopic, I think is how you say it, pregnancy, where if she wouldn't have been allowed to have an abortion, she would have died. So that baby would have never been born either.
Those aren't considered abortions.
No, they're not considered abortion. That's life-saving.
By law, they're not considered abortions.
They are in some states now, though.
Not in any state, not in one state in the U.S. There's been people who's looked into it. They're not considered abortions.
Well,
and I'm not arguing for abortions, but that is a good argument. How do you feel about guns?
I have guns. I am a good shot.
Okay.
She's from Tooele County. Kind of a rule, right?
Yeah.
But if there was something that you morally disagreed with, but the government took your money and repeatedly supported that, would you have heartburn over that?
Yes and no. I will say, and I know this is controversial, but I feel like we spend too much money on the military. I'm not saying we shouldn't have a strong military. I'm just saying I think we could spend less than we do and still be just fine.
I agree. Our defense spending has become a jobs program. I agree, 100%.
Yeah. Well, Yeah, I have family members that were in the military. I'm familiar with a lot of
I'm
waste that
one of them.
happens there.
I'm a
Yeah.
veteran. I recognize it. Yes, 100%. I preach that forever. I've been the one who preached that if Boeing wasn't building bombs, we'd probably have flying cars right now.
Oh, that's all I'm saying. So
But,
yes, so it gives me heartburn to a certain extent, but that's where I feel like, okay, now I have to get involved. I
but
have to vote. I have to run.
is that a moral question for you?
I actually think it is because we could be feeding. Okay, one another controversial. Should we feed every child in school a lunch every day? I say yes, we should, but we can't afford it, and then we can't afford it. Maybe we could take some money that the military is spending and use it for school's lunch for every
No,
day. And
I want you to explore an idea of something that you find morally reprehensible that hurts your. See,
hurts
Holly's
my soul.
religious. So that hurts her soul. She's in her mind, she's a party to murder of the most innocent.
See, I
I'm
feel the
against
same way.
abortion as an atheist because I believe you should take responsibility for your own life. I do not think that something should have to pay the ultimate price because you made a mistake. That's why I'm anti abortion. But I don't want to force my anti abortion on anyone else. So that's why I don't go
But we don't
preaching
want to
it.
pay for
In
it.
my own life, I am anti abortion. I also believe you cannot legislate morality, but I also understand as a religious person, Holly sees that as in her name, an atrocity is being committed.
Hmm.
She sees it as if she was living in Germany when the Nazis were doing their thing, that she would feel the same way. Do you understand that?
I
And
do.
I believe that that has never been taken into account on either side, the morality, because everyone wants to get their political check mark done. But no one stops and says, wait, these people sincerely believe that a innocent soul is being snuffed out and that there's a scar happening on them.
Mm.
And we're forcing them to be a party to that.
I have to be a party to it by my tax dollars going into it. And
Does that
horrifying to
clarify
me.
that a little bit? Does that,
Yeah.
you know,
Absolutely. I'm not objecting to that thought process at all. I cried when our missiles hit that Iranian school and killed little girls. To
wasn't
me,
that found
I
out that
felt
that
the same
wasn't
thing.
our missile? That was actually an Iranian missile. I think
I I
I
have
think 2 days later they that was found out. But of course, that's all. It
But-
could be Iran
But
saying
that's your thing,
they
right?
hit a school
It's
and there wasn't
military
even
for
a
you?
school, and then it could be pro-U.S. Iranian saying that was actually one of ours anyway.
what
Just
what
like when Hezbollah, was it Hezbollah?
I don't
No,
know.
no. Whoever in Gaza actually lit the rocket off and blew up the hospital and blamed Israel until the investigation happened and we found out, oh, okay. But either way,
That's something that it
Yes.
bothers you is us maybe being the police around the world and
Yeah.
using our military to dominate and
Yeah. I don't
um,
want to pay to kill people. I don't want to pay to ruin infrastructure because it is so destructive. And I look at Gaza and I am just heartbroken that we didn't just end a tiff, right? What we did is, well, we didn't do all the bombing, but we paid for a lot of that, just leveling an entire country basically. And to me, I am heartbroken, and it's not anything to do with the political position of the sides. It's how do we rationalize doing that to people? We have to find a better way to settle our disagreements. That's really what it comes down to. And I will say I am anti-abortion in the fact that I do not think it is morally. I don't think it's a good thing in to end a life of in any way at all. But the other part of it though is you're in that one, and I'm not giving you a big rationale for it, but just my own internal. In that one, there's two lives involved, and a lot of times the the mother and her physician have to make some kind of call for a variety of reasons. Maybe she's too young, maybe that baby probably is not going to be viable and survive. And I actually went through something like that where my doctor told me, this baby will probably be born with a lot of disabilities, and you have to decide if that's something you want to go forward with or not. Now, I'll tell you, in my case, I did, and it turned out the doctor was wrong.
My
But
I hear that a lot.
my cousin did the same thing. Holly's daughter, Aubrielle.
My niece.
Yes, we're cousins, and like
oh, you are.
intermingled. We're cousins, and the cousins got married. Her stepbrother married my cousin also. We're
And my
from
cousin's name is
Tooele.
Holly, or
Look,
my sister-in-law was named Holly too.
let's
So
just
there were
kick
two
off
of
the
us.
banjos now. But anyways, now I would ask the question: one, do you think that's most abortions? And then I would ask the question: two, do you think that people who find that situation a moral scar should be forced to pay for it?
Okay, so those are two really loaded questions.
I'm not
So,
trying to load them. Those are
yeah.
one by fact that is not most abortions.
Okay, so here's the thing. Here's what I think is that we discount expert opinion way too much. We think I'm just making a generalization in society in general from, growing up in Utah, being involved in a lot of discussions, right? I think that we put too much into our own opinion. And what I personally, the position I take, and this is coming from my profession, so I work a lot with the FDA, and their position is we don't regulate the practice of medicine, we regulate the medical device. And that's kind of how that's where my position has changed over the years, because I used to be very, very actively against any kind of abortion for any reason, right? And the older I got, the more experience I got, the more I've decided I like the FDA's position, because it puts it back on expert experience and opinion, where I cannot look into a person, like what their situation is. There is a real risk of death in every pregnancy. I cannot tell somebody, I think you should go through with this if you are terrified you're going to die because you have some medical condition or whatever. I just don't want to be a part of that decision making. Now, I understand the position of, okay, well, if you feel you have to get an abortion, I don't want to pay for it. I get that. I don't really have so much of a problem with that position as I do just telling every woman, hey, this is the rule. Everybody's sticking to it no matter what.
I can respect that. And truthfully, I mean, I get angry from the aspect of you are, and I mentioned this, you are a nonprofit organization whose number one profits come from abortion. And then when they busted out that they do sell those baby parts that eventually go into stem cells and research and vaccines, in fact, things like that, that busted the world open. And yet, of course they do. What are they going to do? Just dump them in a garbage? They got to make money on that end too. Because to me, it's almost demonic. And when you see where it started here in America and where these clinics are, you don't see these clinics in upscale neighborhoods. You don't see them up in the hills. They're all in urban areas. And the whole thought process behind the whole start was we need to cleanse the world with children that are going to be born with any retardation or any problems in development. Margaret Sanger even was a fan of the Hitler idea. What was that?
Hitler was a fan of hers.
Though either way, this was a way to get rid of
She
the
was
races.
well before Hitler. She was stumping.
What's that called? Where they used to eugenics. So this, and even though that all came to light, people were like, well, this is fine because there's birth control movement and all of that. I don't expect anyone to understand. And a young girl who gets herself in trouble with her boyfriend or whatever. And I just don't understand why we're not spending as Americans as much investment into programs for adoption, for learning how to preserve life. When you can kill yourself at 16 years old in Canada and the government's willing to pay for that and to hold the needle.
Well, it's cheaper for the government.
It's cheaper. And elderly people who are lonely, the government's willing to sit there and put them to death. You've just crossed a line that I'm not willing to cross. Life is life. And science has shown us enough that when it begins, when that DNA begins, that is an individual spirit that's just been created, that adoption should be a huge thing. And I look at this private business, which is Planned Parenthood. They're in our schools. They are constantly in our government. And there are literal politicians who are funded by them. And yet their funding is given to them, whereas any other 501c3 that is an adoption center or there's some out there that just show the mom, you're thinking of abortion or adoption. Let me show you an ultrasound, and you can see what you're killing at least. And they have an 80% adoption rate after that, or keeping the baby rate when they see an ultrasound. Those people all have to get money themselves or apply for grants. They're not written into the budget of our federal government. So business-wise, I think that isn't fair. That is unfair. And politically, I don't want my dollars to be spent on anybody's political ideals. Guns are in the Constitution. You don't see, you have gun lobbies, but how much are we giving to gun lobbies out of the federal government's budget? I mean,
Well, that would have to go back to transparency, right? Because I don't even, I'll admit I'm uneducated on Planned Parenthood as far as where their funding comes from, what they do. The only things I really know about them is the points that make a positive is teaching kids about birth control, things like that, without it, they are going to get pregnant, let's just be honest. So I don't disagree with you on the points that we need transparency about where is the money coming from. Is it fair? Are we allocating fairly to various groups? I think that's an excellent point. I just don't know enough about all the workings of what's happening to have a real opinion on Planned Parenthood as far as, are we doing the wrong thing with them? I don't know.
they were in part of our curriculum in our Utah schools. As long as I think it was 8 years ago, they were writing the sex ed part of our health classes. And it was very profound because just teaching kids abstinence, what's wrong with that? We know kids are going to do it, but why don't we teach them about accountability and abstinence, and to let them know that even once you are going to make a child, so you better be very, very thoughtful with your body. And
No, I don't have a problem with that so much. It's just that what you like, okay, we're basically we're mammals basically. So we're drawn to sex. We're going to be, right? So I think it is important for kids to have an education. Now, where should it come from? That part I'm up in the air because I did not enjoy sex ed in school. I did not at all. I felt like it was very impersonal. It made me extremely uncomfortable. But did my mom teach me? No.
no, a lot of Utah moms don't teach that. And I get that. And we had a teen pregnancy issue when I was younger in high school, and it was real, and it still is. But what I guess I'm getting at is, if it's going to be under the tax dollar, it should be the most moral, constitutional type of teaching possible. And if it's going to be curriculum teaching our kids, it doesn't have to be graphic, but it can be very accountable. And, nowadays they can send you a pill in the mail and you can kill that baby. And that, again, is our tax dollars at work. And a lot of that research is funded by our tax dollars in universities. It's not, to me, it's not fair. I don't like the death penalty either, though. So for people who are like, oh, you're probably pro-death, but not or you're pro-life, but pro-death penalty. No, I don't like the death penalty either. I like people to have to pay for their crimes in the longest way possible. I'm happy with my tax dollars making sure that they live a long, long life.
And I waver on the death penalty.
Some people certainly deserve it, but it isn't mine.
I'm not pro-death penalty, but then I see some people who do some things.
I get that.
And I'm like, okay, I'll support you on this one. I'm odd like that. Like this whole deal in Iran. Like I'm an anti-war guy, but I'm like, I'm not happy. I don't like Iran. I mean, like, just when like throughout my lifetime, I've heard about the different things they've done. Like, if a virgin girl was
incarcerated,
set for execution in Iran, the Ayatollah made it a law that she had to be raped first so she didn't go to heaven.
That was a known law in Iran.
It's to me that's
yeah.
And
that's wild. But so
young girl too.
Does that make me support bombing Iran? I don't know. But then again, I kind of understand why we did it, because Israel is going to attack Iran, and Iran is going to react just like they did. Iran just flailed. They were like one of them sprinklers the kids run through, just squirt shit everywhere. So we went in and neutralized as much as we could of that. So I get that, but I'm still not happy about it. And, and I know a lot of people will argue the biblical side. Well, was written in the Bible, but I think, and Iran is a unique animal, one that we kind of built in the 50s.
We have a lot of we
built it
stuff in other countries, don't we?
Through a little pre-CIA program, a little nephew of a president named Roosevelt. His name was Kermit, by the way. Kermit Roosevelt.
Well, I think you both brought up a similar point, that you bring up moral and biblical, and I think that's where I think we should step back from including any kind of religious thought process in government, which is part of the foundation of the government. Is let's separate church and state so that people can have whatever belief they want, but we can all agree on how to govern. And I think that is so important. So when you say moral, I like to use the word ethical and talk about fair, what's fair, not what I believe, but what's fair to everyone, or hopefully what we can agree on, like that, bringing it back to anti-corruption. And I hate sounding.
Don't confuse anything I say with biblical. I am an atheist. I am an open atheist.
I'm an atheist as well.
And I would like to say that the separation of church and state is not in the Constitution in any way, shape, or form. It was in a letter regarding governance, and it was not that we should ever make the country have a certain religion, but to allow all religions. But when I say I appreciate ethical, I do. I appreciate the word ethical. I just think that for those of us that do believe in a higher power, and shout out to JC, the thing that we're going through is that you have to live by a set of code, a code of moral society. So moral does have an impact. It was written that, same thing as the church and state thing. It was noted that without a moral people, you do not have, this Constitution is worthless, because if people aren't following the same code of ethics per se, we don't have a society. When killing something is murder here, but not here, the society stops working. When I can't have the ability to speak freely without getting killed for it, we no longer have a moral society, and it's crumbling every single day. Now,
here's an ethical question. If in California, I use California a lot because it's the home of the Democrat Party and where progressives go to reign and sit on their thrones of blood. Honestly, I believe abortion is also sacrifices to Moloch of the wealthy, but that's neither here nor there. More blood for the blood god.
He's a little radical.
But
I'm loving it. I'm loving it.
In California,
your
abortions are open and free up until the end. But if someone kills a pregnant woman, he gets charged with double homicide. Is that ethical?
Yeah, make sense.
And that's the kind of problem I have not tried to solve. I just want to solve the problems of exactly what I started with, and what you said is, let's all get on the same page with what is acceptable behavior, and that would be the anti-corruption, right? We don't take money for a vote, a very basic thing. We have term limits so that people can't rig the system to live in it forever. Those kind of basic things, and that's really what I'm going for.
Insider trading. I think that once someone runs for office, they should no longer be allowed to trade on the open market. They must get involved with, and I argue for, I don't know what it's called now. It used to be called the thrifts, and their spouse and their parents
or children.
So I think it has to be a voluntary action, or their parents can, but their parents' books have to be open, and maybe the politicians, have to be welcome to be some little extra intrusion. Now, don't be confused. I am not a person that wants to legislate abortion at all. I argue for it for Holly. I don't believe you can legislate morality. I don't think it works, but that's my opinion.
You just can't charge people for it.
Like I said, I am anti-abortion in my life. I would never force my beliefs on someone else until I become ruler of the world.
I wouldn't either.
I'll force it on everyone.
I just don't want my tax dollars. I'm not going to tell someone what they can do. But then on the same note, I also love the left talking about my body, my choice. But when I choose not to get vaccinated, now I'm the devil. Now I'm the worst person. We were ridiculed terribly during the time of the vaccine because it was my body, my choice. You know what I mean? It's hypocrisy. And it's like, wait a minute, I don't go up and get in I'm not over at the abortion clinic trying to shame anyone or anything like that. I know people that have to do it and it's never easy. And it affects the woman so long after. It isn't just a one and done. This is a real life for them and it's painful. So I'm not going to pretend to understand someone who's making that choice. It's just something I don't ever want my dollars that I'm being forced to pay to go to that. But at the same time, like you are so great to have a conversation with. Mm-hmm. I could see you being really great in the sense that people you disagree with, you and I probably disagree about on 60% probably of the issues. I mean, on the hard issues, but you're such a joy to talk to. And I'm thankful you don't get offended easy because we tend to offend sometimes.
What? No, I don't think
passionate.
I don't think we disagree on any issue that we both recognize as an issue. And I think the other issues are issues that we don't recognize are issues.
Well, and I think that this is getting to root cause, right? Because when you're explaining your position on abortion being, you're not going to make that call for people, but you don't want to pay for it. I think that is a great compromise. If we could all just say that, okay, we're not going to make a moral or ethical judgment against you for getting an abortion. If you feel like that's what you have to do, but we're not going to pay for it, I think that's a huge and a fantastic compromise.
Yeah. I remember when abortion died out until like 2013.
It became a hot topic. It's a political.
But why did it become a hot topic?
It's political now.
It was political before that, but then it died out. It became a compromise.
But then it became radicalized. Like we're going to give abortions up until the moment of birth, and you're like, what?
What radicalized it is when they tried forcing. The insurance of the Catholic Church for their nuns.
That's right. The nuns and birth control.
And that Hobby Lobby.
That was during the Obama administration.
To offer late-term abortions and stuff. The one that made me laugh was they tried making it available to nuns by force of government law.
The nuns didn't want to pay for
but that's when it became political
and sex and stuff like that. And so they said, no, we're not going to pay this part of the policy. We don't need it. We're nuns. and they had to sue and it just got bad. And the IRS is a problem. And I don't know why we don't just do a 10% straight across the board and make a fair tax. We have gone way over.
Yeah.
So you are
no.
angel for
we have to let me loose because I wake up at 3:30 and go to work and yeah.
Well, if I could just say really quickly, I really, really enjoyed the conversation.
Do you have a website?
I haven't got it yet. I'm working on it.
Okay.
I can send you an email. I'm sorry, what was that?
Are you on Facebook where you have mentioned your campaign or you want us to share your Facebook?
I just my name. I don't have a separate Facebook, but frankly, I just put mostly political stuff on my Facebook. So if somebody really wants to know my position over long term, that's probably the best place right now. I will get a website though, and I can shoot you an email when I have that.
Anita, right now, people can just go to your Facebook and message you. Or if you want to get in touch with Anita and you want her email address, if you're okay with that, if people reach out to us, we will pass your information along. with your permission, of course. I'm sure whatever email you have, you can find it on the website for candidates at the Tooele County Clerk's office. Her name will be up there with her contact information for anyone who wants to get to know her and reach out to her personally. And if you're a Democrat and go to your caucus on March 17th, your caucus is going to be held. Run as a state delegate and really get to know your electeds, because we need good people in this race. And I implore you all to get to know your candidates and make sure that they speak on behalf of you and they're going to represent you. Because here's the thing, Anita, you didn't have someone that you felt was doing it, so you're doing it yourself and you're running for that seat. And I applaud you for that, because it's scary, it's expensive, it's exhausting, and
Thank you.
it's also probably a lot of fun.
So far it's been a lot of work, and haven't really gotten to the fun yet, but I
Yeah.
think when getting to the caucus and some more of these activities, I think it'll get more fun. And I would say you both have been a joy to speak with. I have really enjoyed our conversation and the opportunity to get her a different perspective. It's been great.
I think we should
Thank
have you
you.
on again, because
Yeah.
I really want to get into energy and I want to get into.
And when you get your,
A lot of things.
we need to cover all the things. Water. Everyone's got to talk about water. When you get a website up and running, reach out to me so we can get you on then and at least advertise it.
I don't have a
Well, thank
website
you.
either.
Yeah.
I haven't built a website.
Of course. Well, look, this may be a show
Who
that's
can
ran
afford it?
that's ran by a Republican and I'm like extreme libertarian. You know how you get the crazy purple haired progressives, how loony they are, and you get the ultra right wing guys and how loony they are. I'm that looniest in the middle where I hate it all.
It's the anarchist.
I'm a crazy person and I recognize it. And I recognize that we're not ready for my form of government yet, because I go to stores and I look at their parking lot and I do a visual shopping cart test. And there's always an errant shopping cart floating around the parking lot. We're not ready for anarchy yet. You're not ready for anarchy until people can put their dang shopping carts away.
Yeah,
Ooh.
without being told. I mean, it's literally a character
It's
litmus
the ultimate
test.
test. It's the ultimate test of
People
a human's
who
character.
Leave it for someone else or for whatever to happen versus the
Mhm.
people who used it, unloaded the cart, and then took it back.
Okay, do you want my true confession here?
Have at
Are
it.
you a leaver?
No, well, no, yes and no.
Not after tonight. After tonight, trust me, you will think to yourself, am I an individual who's ready to self-govern?
I mean, that is it.
Okay, so what I do, this is my true confession, which I am not going to make anywhere else. So if people don't hear it from you, they will never know. But, as a single woman in a parking lot, and I usually don't park close because, well, I have little idiosyncrasies with my car being dinged, right? So I usually park kind of far out. And at night usually is when I do my shopping. So I get a little, just security nervous occasionally. So what I do is I drive up to the little curb where they have like the plants and stuff, and I lift the top of it and I put it so it's over the edge so the guys can come pick it up. It's not going to roll into anybody's car, but I don't take the trip clear back down to the
You're-
cart corral.
You're
Why
going
aren't
to
you-
after tonight.
Why aren't you? Are you concealing? I mean, you don't have to share, but are you the type of person that believes in concealing firearms?
Yes, I do. Believe in it.
Then come see
Then
me. I
you're
also
the-
teach a class on that.
He does. He teaches
Oh,
concealed
seriously?
Yes.
shooting. He's great. I took the
Ah.
class. It's great. Actually, is Mallory still doing it?
Mhm.
A female
We got
business that teaches.
Yeah, the head instructor's a female. And the class happens, well, we've got it coming up the last weekend of every month.
It's a lot of fun.
You
But-
have my email. Send me the info.
I will. I will right now.
I love that for you. That's so fun.
But no, the reason you do that is that's the ultimate test on self-responsibility. There's no one's there making you do it, and there's no immediate there's no
Consequence.
immediate negative outcome for not doing it. You do it because it's the ultimate show of society. It's like picking up your own garbage.
Okay, I get it. Like respect for the other
It's
person.
respect for just society.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
it really is.
And that's why I say every time now you go to do it like that, my voice will be in your head and you're going to say, I'm going to either change the way I shop, that I walk out, that I shop every night and I only carry a bag out with me, or I'm going to make sure I park next to a corral so that I unload and push it right in the corral, get my car and leave.
Then you get the dings.
You did it. You did it. You've convinced me. I don't go for the doing stuff because everybody does it, but I do go for stuff that shows respect. So you won me over.
Yeah.
It's like a character thing. I tell my kids, like, you leave it there. Who's supposed to clean it up? Well, they pay people to do it. I said, okay. What if it hits a car? What if a car hits it? What if a car can't park there? All these things. Why is it so hard to just take the extra steps? It's actually good for the body. Extra steps, run back if you want. And I get it. I get the whole woman in a parking lot thing. Believe me. And I just think that when nobody's watching, I think your character is determined, right, on what you do when nobody's watching. And I think that I saw that years and years ago, and my parents always brought their cart back. And so I was like, that actually makes sense. But I've done what you've done in my life.
It's even gone crazier than that. My son, as we walked through the parking lot, since he was a teenager, he would collect carts as we walked past him and pushed them into corrals.
I've done that too, because that was my job.
Taking responsibility. It's also an argument I made on like the mass immigration we had, how you end up with a certain X% would be of a transient nature where they won't care about the society. That's not all of them, but a percentage of them, an algebraic number won't care. And those are the ones that are going to litter more and maybe set up leering centers and maybe set up faulty businesses that would defraud the government because they don't care about tomorrow. They get theirs today, and the minute that falls through, they got theirs, they will pop smoke.
Right. It's the fellow man thing. We went way too long on a shopping
cart. And we got to
cart.
cut you loose, and Holly's having her side. Like,
you are such a joy. And
yes.
I appreciate meeting you, and I wish you all the best. And I hope you'll reach out to us if there's something that you want to do.
Please do. You've got an open invite on here if you got to talk about something.
Thank you very much. I'll take you up on that.
We do need to get into, energy, maybe water, and your thoughts on roads and education. I didn't even get to go deep with you on education. It's a very big topic to me. And especially after last summer and the vote they did in the face of every single person, a lot of fingers are being pointed at the legislature when we need to have some fingers being pointed back at the school district or the school board. So do give us another date that you're available and we can get involved. And I applaud you for running. It's very brave of you, and
good luck.
I hope it's fun for you.
All right.
Well, thank you.
Have a wonderful night, everyone. It's Anita Dalrymple, right?
That's right.
God, I did
Dalrymple, or is
3
it
times.
Dalrymple?
Well, I only emphasized the syllables just to give you the 3 round things. It's Dalrymple.
Dalrymple. It's kind of a complicated spelling. We'll have a website for you soon, I'm sure. We wish her the best.
Go to her Facebook page.
Yeah, and she's got a Facebook page. You can look that up right away. Did
you share it in the show notes?
I didn't share it in the show notes. It's Anita Dalrymple.
Yeah, just look up her name.
She looks like that lady.
Well, if you're listening on podcast, she is a lovely lady, but it's spelled DALRYMPLE. So get on Facebook.
And that is in the show notes. Her name is in the show notes. Anyways, thank you very much. I hope you have a pleasant night. Hope you have a good run.
Well, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that.
All right. Everyone want to thank KMMU, want to thank Dwayne, of course, for helping us out through all of our trials and tribulations.
Thank you, William. Thanks for tuning in.
Thank William. Thank Jordan. Thank Dave. Thank you, Aunt Norma.
Hi, Mom.
Yes. Was your mom in there?
I think she's in there. Yeah.
Okay. But everyone have a wonderful night. Have a wonderful weekend. I'm hoping, I think I'm lining up another candidate for next Wednesday, but it hasn't been worked in yet. It's a candidate for the school board, I think. Most of the school board doesn't want to come on this
Weird.
early.
Yeah. But if you're looking to run for office and you have filed, regardless of the party or the seat,
Yep.
you get in touch with us. Come to our page on
I want you to get your voice
political
out.
head trauma. We want to introduce you to the world. We can't promise that we're going to have fireworks and the F word.
Now we do charge a lot of money.
Interview, but we are
Anita paid
passionate.
a lot to come on.
Oh, did she?
Yes. So
Her whole
we're
budget.
very expensive.
But guys, we want to make sure your voice gets heard.
Yes.
And if we came across very passionate tonight, we're very grateful that Anita was here for it,
Yes.
because that'll give you also a glimpse, folks, into how somebody handles
She's
people
very
like
calm.
us and how they'll be at the Hill, because it's a lot tougher at the Hill than just talking to two people who are dabbling in politics. At the Hill, it's going to be rough. And when you get someone keeping their cool like Anita, I'm just really impressed.
I am too. Thank you very much, Anita, and we will see you guys later.
Bye.
Night.